Chapter 858. Why did you give up? Su Yin retracted his mind wave, holding onto his blade and sword. He asked in confusion. The spirit sage shouldn't only have such a few tricks up his sleeve. The spirit sage naturally has more than this, but you have already understood the weakness of this demon eagle. If you continue to fight, the demon eagle will still not be able to escape defeat, so you have one. A voice came from the great demonic statue. Those with strong yin are countered by yang, and those with strong fire are countered by water. Those with strong bodies tend to have weaker minds. When I realized that this demonic eagle had intelligence, I already knew how to deal with it. However, understanding its weakness doesn't mean that I can defeat my opponent. In actual combat, it's a test of both parties' awareness and performance. It would be a pity to give up just like that. However, the result is no longer important. What is important is the process. The great demonic statue laughed. You have a divine object to protect you. Your physical body is invincible, but you are different from this demon eagle. It was created by me. I know how strong its physical body is. It is because of the magic treasure that your physical body is incomparably strong. You can cultivate your spirit and increase the strength of your spirit, but it cannot. You have already obtained the inheritance of the great demon's yin-yang manifestation art, this mental cultivation method is the ultimate martial mental cultivation method, created by the illusion great saint's lifetime of comprehension. It is not a profound mental cultivation method, but it is an all-encompassing mental cultivation method. You have only entered the threshold of the 300 words of inheritance. I hope that you can cultivate more in the future. Of course, even if you enter the threshold, defeating this demon eagle that is only at the spirit sage level is still an easy task. The demon eagle did not unleash its full strength. Speaking of which, Su Yin still has to thank Senior for his acknowledgement. Su Yin cupped his fists. If the demon eagle were to unleash its full strength, Su Yin would not be so relaxed. Everything was obtained through your own hard work. There's no need to say that I'm giving in. As the great demonic statue spoke, balls of pitch-black devil chi once again flowed out from her body. These devil chi slowly gathered in front of her and finally condensed into a black ring. The ring swayed and floated in front of Su Yin. Su Yin caught it. This is an imprint. You can crush it. Imprint? Only with it can you control the demon eagle. So that's how it is. Su Yin nodded and crushed the ring. Crash! The ring broke into a ball and turned into a circle of black smoke, wrapping around the middle of Su Yin's index finger, and then slowly seeped in. Not long after, it turned into a ring imprint. Dark. The demonic figure released a loud and clear cry. It flapped its wings and flew towards Su Yin. Su Yin watched quietly. At the moment, the demon eagle's eyes were looking at him, and there was a hint of intimacy in them. It flapped its wings and landed on Su Yin's shoulder at a moderate speed. Gloom! It growled a few times and rubbed its head against Su Yin's face. As you can see, this isn't an ordinary mechanical puppet. I refined it using the soul of a dead 9 transformation eagle. It has a spirit, and if you work well with it, you'll be able to display unexpected results. As the great demonic statue spoke, its stone body began to rot, just like the previous statues. But you must remember, Demon Lord, if one day you want to leave the true devil sect and head to a higher and stronger place, please leave something for the descendants of the devil sect. After saying that, the statue became completely silent and no longer emitted any demonic chi. Su Yin stood there for a while, then cupped his hands and bowed seriously. The demon eagle flew into the air, circled around the statue for a while, then suddenly rushed towards Su Yin. Whiz! The moment it neared Su Yin's finger, the demon eagle turned into a ray of black light and entered the ring on his finger, disappearing without a trace. Su Yin moved his finger. Although he could not see the demon eagle, he could feel its existence from the imprint on his finger. It seemed to be rather sad. Perhaps the separation from the great demon made it feel conflicted. Su Yin took a deep breath, calmed himself down, and continued to walk towards the next great demon. Clang! The cold cell door was pushed open. Sun Xiangyan walked alone into the dark and damp cell. On the walls and on the cages, there were enchantment seals that restricted the prisoners. These seals were personally set up by the supreme expert of the kingdom of Ziyu. They were incomparably sturdy and unbreakable. In the depths of the prison, there was a rather tidy cell. At the entrance of the cell stood two female soldiers wearing armor. When the female soldier saw Sun Xiangyan walking over, she immediately bowed. "Greetings, princess." "Yes." Sun Xiangyan nodded, looked left and right, and said softly, "You guys can leave first." The two female soldiers looked at the people in the cell with some difficulty. "What is it? You even dare to disobey the princess' orders?" Sun Xiangyan's face suddenly darkened. "Hurry up and leave." How could the two female soldiers dare to disobey the princess' orders? Seeing that the princess was angry, they could only lower their heads and call out before retreating. After the two of them left, Sun Xiangyan immediately opened the cell and walked in. At this moment, two women were curled up together in the cell. One big and one small. It was Su Qing'er and Shangwan Meiyang. At this moment, Shangwan Meiyang was hugging Su Qing'er like a mother hugging a child, constantly comforting her, while Su Qing'er was curled up in Shangwan Meiyang's embrace like a cat, her delicate body trembling slightly. "Junior sister, are you all right?" Sun Xiangyan quickly walked over and asked with concern. "Senior sister, you're here." Shangwan Meiyang shook her head lightly. "Don't worry. Although we were locked up here, they did not do anything to us. Junior sister, don't worry. I will bring you out of here as soon as possible." Sun Xiangyan's face was filled with guilt. "This is all my fault. I did not handle this matter properly, causing you all to suffer. I've already sent people to the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace to inform Master of this matter. I believe that Master will definitely help me." "Senior sister, there is no need to blame yourself. The battle of the royal family is like this. Who could do anything about it? On the other hand, Qing'er has suffered this time. She has obtained the inheritance of the ancestor of the Ziyu Immortal Kingdom, and her cultivation has increased explosively, but her temperament is unable to keep up. She is still immersed in the huge world of cultivation and is unable to extricate herself. I have to think of a way to let Qing'er return to normal." Shangwan Meiyang sighed and said softly. Hearing that, Sun Xiangyan frowned. She walked over and squatted down, extending her hand to caress Su Qing'er's trembling and tender white skin. A chill came from the skin that seemed as if it could be broken by the wind. However, other than this chill, there was also a strange power. Sun Xiangyan could not tell what kind of power it was, but she could feel that Su Qing'er's entire body was currently filled with this power, and her entire body seemed to have been submerged. "Senior sister, there's something I don't know if I should say." Just then, Shangwan Meiyang spoke up again. "Junior sister, just say it." Sun Xiangyan nodded. "Yes." Shangwan Meiyang hesitated for a moment, then said, "Senior sister, actually, Qing'er's current situation is not optimistic." "Not optimistic? What do you mean? Is it referring to Qing'er himself?" Sun Xiangyan felt that something was wrong. "Senior sister, the energy in Qing'er's body is too huge. She is currently relying on her own will to suppress it. But from what I can see, she might not be able to hold on for long if she does not take the pill that stabilizes her mind and strengthens her essence qi. Then, she might lose control." "Out of control?" Sun Xiangyan's expression changed. "The power in her body will rush out, and her consciousness will be drowned." Shangwan Meiyang's voice was somewhat gloomy. "Consciousness is submerged. What will happen? If her consciousness is submerged, she will lose her consciousness. She will be completely controlled by this power because there is too much power in her body. She is anxious to vent it, which means she will destroy it." Shangwan Meiyang said in a low voice, "Although the kingdom of Ziyu is a powerful spirit cultivator power, compared to the current Qing'er, it is still too weak. Furthermore, this place is in the center of the kingdom of Ziyu, so once her consciousness is submerged, I'm afraid that more than half of the kingdom of Ziyu will be destroyed." Hearing this, Sun Xiangyan's face alternated between white and purple. No one knew what she was thinking. Qing'er's situation is so special. I think I should discuss this with the Empress Dowager. I believe she will understand and help Qing'er dissolve the energy in her body. Finally, Sun Xiangyan spoke. No way. Shangguan Meiyang immediately shouted. If that's the case, then the matter of Qing'er being a god's body will be exposed. This will only bring her a fatal disaster. But the body of a god is no small matter. Even the kingdom of Ziyu cannot hide such a thing. Once this matter is exposed, the consequences will be extremely severe. Right now, there's only one way, and that is to find a top-grade heart consolidating pill and let Qing'er consume it. Even if I can't find a top-grade heart consolidating pill, it doesn't matter if I can't find a top-grade heart consolidating pill. Qing'er only needs to hold on until my mother arrives here. Although my mother's cultivation is not strong, her methods are not small, she definitely has a way. Shangguan Meiyang said. Hearing that, Sun Xiangyan sighed and nodded. Right now, this is the only way. All right then. Take care of Qing'er. I'll go look for it now. Thank you, senior sister. There's no need to say that. Wait for me. After Sun Xiangyan finished speaking, she hurriedly left. Sun Xiangyan came and left quickly, but she could not solve any problems, nor could she change the situation. Shangguan Meiyang was still gently hugging Su Qing'er as she watched Sun Xiangyan leave. Seeing her leave, she could not help but heave a sigh of relief, her slender eyebrows revealing a trace of worry. Master! Master! Just then, Su Qing'er, who was in his embrace, weakly called out. Qing'er, how are you? Shangguan Meiyang hurriedly said. I'm fine. Prison. Outside the prison. There's someone. Su Qing'er struggled to say these words. Her voice was as soft as a mosquito and was almost inaudible. But with that said, Shangguan Meiyang's face changed. She anxiously looked out of the cell, only to see that the two female soldiers who had left earlier had returned. The people that Su Qing'er was talking about were definitely not these two people, Shangguan Meiyang thought. Chapter 859. The fourth statue of the Devil Cultivator. This was a very strange statue of the Devil Cultivator. The statue was dressed in a huge robe and looked like an old man. He did not have the tall and sturdy body of the great demons from before, nor did he have an astonishing aura. He only had a stooped body and a smiling face. When Su Yun approached the statue, the devil chi around the statue leaked out, and an old voice came out from inside. The new demon lord? You're finally here. This old man has been waiting for you for a long time. Su Yun sized up the statue and realized that he did not have any blades on him, nor did he have any puppet equipment, and did not know what methods he had, so he could only clasp his fists and say, Junior greets Senior. You're a young man who understands etiquette. Not bad, not bad. The old man's impression of Su Yun was not bad, so he smiled and said, Come closer. Su Yun hesitated for a moment, then took a few steps forward. Do you see the bottle under me? The voice came again. Su Yun looked over, only to see that below the statue, there was a pitch-black bottle with blood marks on it. This is a pill I specially refined for you. The old man chuckled and said, I'm not good at anything else. I only know how to refine some pills, but don't underestimate this pill. The people who come to this old man's door to ask for pills are like carps crossing the river. It's endless. If someone asks me for a pill, it will depend on whether this old man is in a good mood or not. This pill was specially refined by me for the demon monarch who is preparing to enter the ancient tomb. It is the result of my life's work, and the materials used are all rare in the world. Compared to this pill, the things you obtained before pales in comparison. Was he bragging? Anyone could do it. Su Yun secretly despised him, but did not refute. The treasures from before were all more astonishing than the last. How could this pill compare to them? This old man's tone was not small. Once he completed his test, he would see what kind of treasure this was. Senior's pill is so powerful, it really makes one drool. I wonder what Junior should do to obtain this pill? Su Yun asked. Of course, you just have to pass my test. The old man's statue chuckled. The furnace I use to refine pills is called the Heron Spirit. It is made from the bones of an egret. When I entered this ancient tomb, I shattered the Heron Spirit furnace, and the soul of the heron spirit was left here by me as a shadow guard, to be used as a trial for the demon lord later on. Oh, you want me to defeat the shadow guards as well? Su Yun asked. Haha, of course not. My shadow guard isn't as strong as those guys' shadow guards. After all, it's an existence created from the heron spirit. It's not good at fighting. What are you good at? Alchemy. Could it be that Senior wants to compete with me in alchemy? Su Yun was suspicious. Although he had done some research on pills, but his level was still not bad in the Sky Martial continent. But in the ultimate martial world, especially when facing the Devil's Sex Alchemy Grandmaster, he was truly displaying his slight skill in front of an expert. Just accept it. The old man did not explain further and laughed. Following that, a large amount of devil chi overflowed from his body, forming a shadow guard in front of him. This shadow guard was completely different from the two shadow guards he had seen before. Its body was very bloated, like a big bucket, and on top of the bucket were two blood-red eyes, staring straight at Su Yun. Such a fat and huge shadow guard. Su Yun naturally did not think that it would be difficult to deal with it. Looking at its size, he could tell that its speed should be a disadvantage, using its own strength to attack the enemy's weakness. This was what people liked to do the most. However, Su Yun did not dare to let his guard down. Since the old man dared to let this guy deal with him, he was afraid that this guy was completely different from what he saw. The new Lord Demon Lord. Are you ready? The old man asked with a smile. Senior, you can start at any time. Su Yun nodded and said, All right, let's begin, the old man said. As soon as he finished speaking, the fat shadow guard began to move. With a big belly that was like a ball, it slowly moved towards Su Yun. Its speed was extremely slow, like a snail crawling. Su Yun did not dare to get close, so he threw out his Lotus Star sword and attacked. The snow-white Lotus Star sword directly smashed onto the shadow guard's body. The sword tip pierced into its body and then directly passed through its back. However, the shadow guard's body only trembled a little. It was not affected at all, and its body did not dim at all as it continued to move forward. Could it be that he was immune to attacks? Su Yun was secretly shocked. Ow! The fat shadow guard let out a strange sound. Su Yun retracted his Lotus Star sword, looked at the slowly approaching shadow guard. His left hand's fingers moved slightly, secretly activating the yin-yang manifestation art. A circle of spiritual fluctuations quietly spread out, and his body had already formed a spiritual domain that belonged solely to him. But at this moment, the shadow guard that was approaching Su Yun suddenly stopped. Its extremely fat body trembled a few times, and then a scene that shocked everyone's eyes appeared. Several slender red slits suddenly appeared on his round stomach, and then his entire stomach seemed to bloom like a flower, completely opening up like a big mouth. Su Yun was startled. Before he could even react, the flower had already wrapped around him and swallowed him whole. The flower retracted, wrapped around Su Yun, and once again returned to the round belly of the shadow guard. But the current Su Yun had already been eaten by it, and did not even have the time to activate the Imperial Battle Robe. I didn't have any defenses, nor did I have any vigilance. I just ate it into my stomach. Young people nowadays really can't maintain a cold heart. If I had been prepared, how could I have fallen for it so easily? Hee hee. The old man statue let out a strange laugh. His face revealed a sinister expression, completely different from the kind and amiable one he had before. It was as if the current him was the real him. The current Su Yun's line of sight had already been replaced by endless darkness. The moment the fat shadow guard opened his mouth and closed it, his speed was surprisingly fast. Even someone like him, who could swing out 1,000 swords in a single breath, was unable to react in time. The shadow guard's stomach was filled with a stench, and there was also a wave of sour energy. Su Yun did not dare be careless, and activated the divine power of the Imperial Battle Robe. In an instant, the shadow guard's stomach swelled up. It was obvious that even it was afraid of this divine power. Seeing that, Su Yun immediately planned to use the protection of the divine power to break through the shadow guard's stomach. But right at that moment, the dim light suddenly flashed. The surrounding darkness suddenly turned scarlet red. The temperature also crazily rose. A large amount of flames rose around him. When he looked at the shadow guard's stomach again, he discovered that its stomach had already turned into a hard and thick cauldron wall. At this moment, the shadow guard had already turned into a large cauldron, planning to directly refine Su Yun. So that's how it is. Is this the test that Senior has given this junior? You want me to rush out of this cauldron? Su Yun looked around and asked indifferently. Haha, not bad. Young demon lord, as long as you can charge out of the cauldron formed by the spirit of the heron, you will have completed my test. I will give you this pill that I specially refined for you. If you can't break through, it's best if you surrender in time, and I will let you out. Otherwise, the more the devil smearing fire in the cauldron burns, the more it burns you to death. If that's the case, then don't blame me. I don't want to refine the demon lord of the true devil sect into a pill. If that's the case, I will become the sinner of the true devil sect. The old man's voice came out from the statue again. His voice sounded sinister. Surrender? Senior, you don't understand me. I, Su Yun, am a person who will not give up until he reaches the Yellow River. Su Yun laughed. Oh, is that so? You sure have a stubborn temper. Then you can just stay inside. My heron spirit cauldron is not ordinary once you enter. It won't be that easy to get out. The old man's statue laughed. Oh. Su Yun was not nervous. He looked around. The flames were burning more and more fiercely. The temperature had already exceeded Su Yun's understanding. Even with the protection of the imperial battle robe, he could still feel the scorching heat brought about by the raging flames. The imperial battle robe could dissolve the profound strength, but it could not ignore matter. This was a drawback of the era of the clear sky, holy robe. He stared at the cauldron wall not far away, took a deep breath, pulled out his black blade, and rushed over. He ignored the raging flames as if they were nothing. He stepped on the raging flames and crashed into the cauldron wall. Dong! The black blade swung dozens of times, causing its strength to double. The whirlwind was raised up high by him and directly slashed at the cauldron wall. A loud sound rang out. The cauldron trembled violently. The old man seemed to be surprised. This fellow seemed to have some ability. No, it wasn't easy for me to refine the devil pill. This is a treasure that I can show off my face to. If I let him take it away so easily, then where would I put my old face in the future? As he thought to himself, he increased the flame in the cauldron. The temperature rose exponentially, once exceeding the temperature of the surface of the sun. However, dong, 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 the shocking sounds seemed to be endless, one after another. The shadow guard was unable to hold on any longer, and his round body was trembling violently. The old man's statue was silent. It was hard to imagine how shocked he was at this moment. This guy's strength seemed to be extraordinary. Crack! In less than half an incense stick of time, a long, thin, scarlet crack appeared on the shadow guard's stomach, and a terrifyingly high temperature leaked out from the crack. Senior, this egret spirit cauldron is a good treasure. You should quickly take it back in case I accidentally destroy it. Just then, Su Yun's voice came from the cauldron. When the old man's statue heard this, he was flustered and exasperated. Brat, don't be complacent. My cauldron is not that weak. If you have the ability, come out yourself. As soon as he said that, boom, an earth-shattering sound echoed throughout the ancient tomb. The egret spirit cauldron shattered into pieces, and terrifying flames splashed in all directions like fireworks. The old man in the statue was stunned. Chapter 860. Su Yun slowly walked out, his expression calm like an ancient well. At this moment, there was not a single injury on his body. It was simply miraculous. This. How is this possible? He actually broke my heron spirit cauldron so easily. This is simply impossible. At this moment, the voice from the old man's statue was filled with shock. For Su Yun to be able to come here, his strength was no small matter. But he knew the power of the heron spirit cauldron. This was a cauldron that even the peak of the spirit emperor could not easily break. Could it be that Su Yun already possessed the cultivation of the spirit sage? That's not right. No matter how he looked at it, his aura was clearly still that of the spirit emperor. Senior's cauldron is not bad. Junior originally wanted to save it for Senior, but since Senior said that, Junior could only agree to Senior's words and break out of the cauldron. If Junior has offended Senior in any way, I hope Senior will not take offense. Suyin walked over and cupped his fists. The old man's statue did not make a sound for a long time. The consciousness within the statue did not regain its senses for a long time. Only after a long while did he speak. You brat, you're quite impressive. Senior is too kind. Fine. The old man sighed. Since you broke my cauldron so easily, then according to the requirements, I will give you this devil pill. I hope that you can reach a higher level with the help of this pill. As his voice fell, the devil chi on the old man's statue began to evaporate, and the statue gradually withered. Suyin clasped his hands again, as usual. Thank you, Senior. There's no need to thank me. We're all from the devil's sect, so why be so polite? If you obtain this pill, I believe that the future of the devil's sect will be prosperous. He was praising himself in a disguised form again. Suyin could not help but ridicule in his heart. Although this old man was not likable, he had an inexplicable sense of cuteness. All right, just as the statue was about to dissipate, the old man's voice came out from the statue once again. Suyin raised his head to look at the statue, but the old man said, You have already obtained the inheritance of the 4 great demons, and have already obtained countless benefits and rewards, but for the greedy demons, this is still far from enough. You must not let go of the remaining great demon statues. In addition, remember, you can prioritize obtaining the innermost great demon statue. If you obtain the inheritance of that statue, TSK, you will be able to ascend to the heavens in a single step. The innermost statue. Suyin frowned. Previously, there seemed to be a great demon who had told him about the devil cultivator statue, but he seemed to have said not to take the inheritance of the great demon statue. Why did this old man want him to take it? You are the demon lord of my devil sect. This old man will naturally not harm you. That great demon is extremely special. You must remember it well. All right, I don't have much time left, so let's part ways here. Young demon lord, if there's a chance in the future, let's meet again. At that time, I will definitely refine a devil pill that will surprise you. The old man laughed sinisterly, but his laughter gradually weakened and eventually disappeared without a trace. The old man's last sentence caused Suyun's head to be filled with fog. The great demon statue in the innermost part. Whose statue was that? What wondrous things would there be? Forget it. What's the point of thinking so much? There were still so many treasures that he had yet to take, so he decided to take the treasures from the other statues first. Suyun heaved a sigh of relief and immediately took out the bottle containing the devil pill. He opened the bottle and poured out the pitch-black pill inside. The pill had a dense, salty smell. Its surface was pitch black, and there was a red dot in the center. Traces of devil chi leaked out from the red dot. These were all seniors of the true devil sect, so they probably wouldn't harm anyone. Suyin did not hesitate and directly sent the devil pill into his mouth. Gudong. When the devil pill entered his stomach, it immediately began to take effect. A large amount of devil chi rose from his abdomen, and then through his blood vessels, it quickly spread to every part of his body. Suyun had swallowed the dragon abyss bead before, and his body had already been strengthened to an extremely high degree. When the devil chi released by the devil pill flowed through his body, it actually did not affect him at all. He sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes to meditate. When the demonic chi filled every part of his body, it quickly disappeared, leaving no trace behind. Suyun felt that it was strange. When he carefully probed the devil chi, he discovered that it had already fused into his flesh and blood, completely becoming a part of his body, like meridians and blood vessels, covering every part of his body. What was even more surprising was that the devil vein formed by the devil chi actually contained an extremely terrifying energy. This energy seemed to be sealed within, solidified within the meridians, and it was unknown what use it had. The devil pill was digested very quickly, but even after it completely disintegrated, Suyun's strength did not increase, nor did his cultivation increase. What exactly was this pill for? Was it useless at all? To think that the old man bragged so much. With a strong sense of doubt, he continued to observe the changes in his body. However, other than the devil vein, there was still no change, Could it be that the benefits of this devil pill were the meridians formed by the devil chi? He thought about it again and again, then quietly raised a bit of profound chi and moved closer to the devil vein. With the devil vein sealed, it was almost impossible to see the composition of the energy inside, so he could only use the profound chi to stimulate it and see what effect it had. If the profound chi was useless, then Su Yun would have nothing to say. He had already started to suspect that the devil pill was actually useless, and everything was the result of the old man's deception. However, just as Su Yun approached one of the devil veins in his body, the color of the devil veins suddenly changed from grayish-white to pitch black. The profound chi in the devil vein came into complete contact. The strand of profound chi that touched the devil vein was like a piece of paper that had been ignited. It instantly engulfed the devil chi and then quickly disappeared. Immediately after, the devil veins suddenly became restless. They were like machines that had been electrified. They started to operate at high speeds. Surging energy exploded out from the devil vein. Su Yun's body trembled a few times. The blood in his body instantly boiled. Before he could even react, a terrifying, profound strength struck the spirit core in his body. His cultivation soared. Su Yun was stunned. His body was scorching hot. Power flowed out of the devil vein like spring water. They were like the second chi meridian in Su Yun's body, crazily transferring profound strength to him. His strength had increased by who knows how many times. Su Yun roughly estimated that his current strength had probably already stepped into the Spirit Sage level. Spirit Sage? Was it in this instant? Su Yun looked inside in a daze. This devil pill actually had such an effect, allowing him to directly step into the Spirit Sage realm. This was too terrifying. Wait a minute. Su Yun seemed to have seen something, and his dazed face immediately regained its senses. When the devil vein in his body was channeling energy into his body, its color also started to dim, as if there was a time limit to the energy within it. Could it be that the devil vein was only temporarily providing him with strength and not a permanent increase? Thinking about that, he released a bit of profound chi and probed the devil vein again. When the profound chi touched the devil vein, the energy released by the devil vein immediately retreated back into the devil vein like a receding tide. Su Yun's strength immediately dropped greatly, returning to his previous state. It was really like that. Su Yun suddenly understood. Seems like the devil vein formed by the devil pill increases my strength to a certain extent, but I wonder how much it increases my strength if I can train the devil vein, and if I were to cultivate it to a thicker level, would it increase my strength even more? Su Yun secretly thought, forget it. I will definitely understand in the future. It's useless to think too much about it now. He took a deep breath, organized his thoughts, and continued forward. The ancient tomb was very big. The statue that he had come into contact with before was the front part, and the next statue was in the middle. In between, he had to pass through a long railway. This road was completely made of black profound iron, and the profound iron was covered with a large number of devil cultivator reliefs. When Su Yun approached the road, the reliefs on the road immediately came to life. They strangely separated themselves from the main road and stood up. They split into two groups on the left and right, standing on both sides of the road with a respectful look on their faces. Su Yun secretly held onto the Lotus Star sword. Seeing that they did not have any hostility, he carefully advanced forward. When he passed through the main road, the scene that entered his eyes immediately caused him to be stunned. However, at the end of the road, there was a huge empty space, and in this empty space there were over 100 statues. These are all statues of the great demons? Su Yun's eyes were absent-minded as he muttered. The few from before had already caused him to be filled with admiration, and it was likely that they were all extraordinary figures. However, there were actually so many statues here. What kind of power was the true devil sect? How could there be so many tyrants? Any one of them would be an incredible existence if they were to be placed outside. It had to be known that the one Su Yun was fighting with right now was only a strand of their consciousness. Did he really have to complete their trials one by one and obtain their inheritance? What would happen if he obtained all of them? He didn't dare to imagine it anymore. You're here. the new demon lord. At this moment, a voice came from the statue at the very front. As you can see, all the statues here are the statues of the great demons of the True Devil sect. Every statue has the wealth that they left behind. If you want to obtain their treasures, you must complete their trial. If you are already afraid and tired, you can immediately return and leave the ancient tomb. His voice was not cordial, but rather a little warning. It was these words that pulled Su Yun back from his daze. The corner of his mouth raised slightly, and a hint of madness seeped out of his eyes. With so many great demonic treasures, tell me, if they were all in the hands of a single person, what kind of fortune would that person have? Arrogant. This was simply arrogant. He believed that no one in the entire True Devil sect would dare to say such words here. It seems like this demon lord's ambition is not small. Come, let's see if you have the ability. The great demonic statue said. Chapter 861. A eunuch in plain blue robes hurriedly ran towards the palace of the Purple Moon Immortal Kingdom. After entering the palace and paying his respects to the Empress Dowager, the eunuch panted and said, Empress Dowager, the people of the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace have arrived and are waiting outside. Oh, they're pretty fast. The Empress Dowager put down the spirit tea in her hand and waved her hand. Bring them in. Yes, Empress Dowager. The eunuch retreated, and not long later, he brought in 3 peerless beauties in purple robes. The 3 of them were all devastatingly beautiful, especially the leader, who was even more stunning. Her eyebrows were like willows, her lips were like the sunset glow, her skin was like snow, and her figure was graceful. From top to bottom, there wasn't the slightest bit of incongruity. Her entire person was like nature itself, like the most perfect masterpiece of the heavens. Such a person, be it male or female, would be unforgettable for the rest of one's life. However, this was not the first time the Empress Dowager saw this woman. Her expression was indifferent, and there was not much change in her expression. She said indifferently, It's been a long time. Palace Mistress Shangguan, how have you been? Thanks to Empress Dowager's good fortune. Shangguan Qingchang said indifferently, her voice like an aureole. I wonder why Palace Mistress Shangguan has come to my Purple Moon Immortal Kingdom? Empress Dowager Lu continued to take a sip of her tea. She did not serve Shangguan Qingchang and the rest, nor did she look at their seats. However, Shangguan Qingchang and the rest did not get angry. They only said, Why is Empress Dowager Lu asking when you already know the answer? My daughter came to your country a few days ago, but I don't know what she did, but she was imprisoned. As her mother, if not for my daughter, what else could I be here for? You also know that you're a mother? You're not disciplined properly, but you're acting so atrociously here? Empress Dowager Lu's face sank. Shangguan Meiyang came to my immortal kingdom, and I was supposed to receive her well. But she and her disciple destroyed the forbidden ground built by my ancestor, committing a heinous crime. Do you know that? Why did my daughter destroy the forbidden ground? How would I know? Then did Empress Dowager see what my daughter did? Of course someone saw it. Then invite him to come up and confront me. I'll listen to what he has to say. If he saw it with his own eyes, I have nothing to say. If he's just relying on his own judgment, then please produce evidence to prove that it was my daughter who did it. Otherwise, what else would you do? Empress Dowager Lu frowned. Shangguan Qingchang raised her head and looked at Empress Dowager Lu calmly. Otherwise, my divine cloud immortal palace will have no choice but to take him by force. Forcefully take him away. With just your divine cloud immortal palace? Empress Dowager Lu snorted coldly. Palace Lord Shangguan, you sure are impressive. What kind of place do you think the kingdom of Ziyu is? Your divine cloud immortal palace is just a small sect in the Sky Martial continent. How dare you spout such nonsense here? Since you are the master of looks, I won't bicker with you. Quickly leave the immortal empire and return to the martial heaven continent. Otherwise, don't blame me for not giving you face. Hearing this, Shangguan Qingchang frowned slightly, but her expression remained calm. She lowered her head and murmured, then said indifferently, So, Queen Dowager Lu is not going to let them go. I have to give my ancestor an explanation. If that's the case, I'm afraid you won't be able to give that person an explanation. she said indifferently. Empress Dowager Lu frowned. Who? Who else could it be? It's naturally Mei Yang's father. After Shangguan Qingchang finished speaking, he turned and walked out of the palace. Empress Dowager Lu's expression changed for a moment. Her gaze was fixated on the gradually disappearing figure, but she did not say anything. Although the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace was just a sect in the Sky Martial Continent, everyone knew that the palace master of the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace had a lot of connections. Although she had a daughter, no one knew who she was with. Since she said that, it was likely that Shangguan Mei Yang's father was an incredible person. After Shangguan Qingchang left, the atmosphere in the palace became very tense. Empress Dowager. At this time, a person walked in from outside the palace. When he looked, he saw that it was Sun Xiangyan. Beauty, you're here. Empress Dowager Lu said indifferently. Greetings, Empress Dowager. Sun Xiangyan bowed, then said, Empress Dowager, I'm afraid this matter has nothing to do with Mei Yuan. I suggest that you let Mei Yuan go. Otherwise, my ZU Immortal Kingdom will be in trouble. Disaster? What disaster? Although the strength of the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace is weaker than our ZU Immortal Kingdom, the power behind the Immortal Palace cannot be underestimated. I heard that the dual cultivation partner of the Palace Master is an extremely powerful supreme expert and seems to be related to the immortal world, but I don't know what happened between the two of them. But even so, the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace cannot afford to offend them. Even if that supreme expert does not care about Master, he will definitely not let his daughter go. Empress Dowager, if we continue like this and provoke a supreme expert or even a great power, wouldn't that bring disaster to the ZU Immortal Kingdom? The Forbidden Area has already been destroyed, and there is no way to recover it. Even if we punish Junior's sister now, let's not talk about whether this matter has anything to do with Junior's sister. Even if she did it, punishing her will not allow the Forbidden Area to recover. What do you mean by that? Empress Dowager Lu's face turned ugly as she said angrily, I'm the dignified ZU Immortal Kingdom. Could it be that I am afraid of her Divine Cloud Immortal Palace? Could it be that if her Divine Cloud Immortal Palace has people in the immortal world, we don't? What are you afraid of? The Empress Dowager's voice was stern. It was obvious that she was angered by Sun Xiangyan's words. But, Empress Dowager, beauty, don't forget, even though that's your master, I'm your grandmother. Who are you going to side with? This. Sun Xiangyan was in a dilemma and didn't know what to say. Beauty, you can go down. I'm tired. Empress Dowager Lu said in a deep voice, as if she didn't want to say anything more to Sun Xiangyan. Empress Dowager, go down. His words were exceptionally serious. Sun Xiangyan opened her mouth, but in the end, she chose not to say anything. She bowed and slowly left the palace. As soon as she left, the palace returned to its tranquility. Empress Dowager Lu gripped the armrest tightly. The anger on her face gradually revealed itself. She seemed to have been suppressing her emotions. Shangguan Qingchang, you are so impressive. It's a pity that this is the kingdom of ZU. Empress Dowager Lu gritted her teeth. However, at this moment, outside the Immortal Kingdom's prison, a group of people were rushing into the prison. The person leading the group was actually Sun Di. Your Highness, this subordinate greets Your Highness. When the guards outside the cell saw the newcomers, they hurriedly bowed. Open the cell. I'm under the Empress Dowager's orders to take these two away. Hurry up and open the cell. Sun Di walked in with large strides, shouting loudly at the same time. The head of the prison did not dare to delay and quickly ran over to open the cell. Everyone quickly walked towards the innermost room of the prison. Sun Di seemed to be heading straight for the cell, his gaze fixed on it the entire time, not shifting at all. The two female soldiers who were monitoring Shangguan Mei Yang and Su Qing'er immediately stepped aside. The head of the prison took out a key, opened the seal, and opened the door. Seeing that, Shangguan Mei Yang, who was inside, immediately became solemn. She hugged Su Qing'er tightly and asked coldly, What are you guys doing? Follow me. A light smile hung on Sun Di's face. Where to? Cut the crap. Sun Di waved his hand. Take them away. Yes, Your Highness. The few experts behind him entered the cell and prepared to forcefully drag the two girls away. But just as they were about to make their move, Shangwan Meiyang suddenly gathered her chi and threw it towards the expert. However, her strength was not good enough. The moment she made her move, she was caught by the experts, and a wisp of profound energy flew towards her. Bang! Shangwan Meiyang's chest suffered a heavy blow, and she retreated a few steps, spitting out a mouthful of dark red blood. However, just as she was hit, her tender hands loosened, and she threw out a magic treasure. Dong! The magic treasure exploded. An ray of light enveloped her and Su Qing'e, who was beside her. The two of them merged into the light and disappeared in an instant. It's a legacy magic treasure. A person cried out anxiously. The seal here has been lifted, so they have an opportunity to take advantage of. With such a fast speed and with two people, I'm afraid that this legacy magic treasure won't be able to send them far. I'm afraid that they are still in this palace. Then what are you waiting for? Hurry up and catch them. Hurry up and bring them back. Sun Li roared at the top of his lungs. Everyone, go and find them quick. Faster. This subordinate obeys. Wait, Sun Li shouted again. We must not let the Empress Dowager know about this, do you understand? All of you be quiet. If the Empress Dowager finds out, all of you will have your heads on the ground. Yes. Everyone answered and immediately left the prison. These people were right. Shangwan Meiyang and Su Qing'e were indeed still in the palace. Actually, she could have used this magic treasure a long time ago, but this magic treasure couldn't bring the two of them far and couldn't even send them out of the palace. Escaping from the kingdom of Ziyu was even more like a fantasy, and it was precisely because of this that she didn't use this magic treasure. However, she had already reached the point where she had no choice but to use it because she understood why Sun Di had come this time. He must be doing it for Qing. Back then, when he was talking to Sun Xiangyan in the prison, Qing'e had said that there was someone outside, but Shangwan Meiyang and Sun Xiangyan did not notice it at all. Shangwan Meiyang never thought that there would be someone monitoring her, and even more so, she never thought that the matter of Su Qing'e's divine body would be exposed just like that. Sun Li had probably heard of the divine body before, so he must have taken the risk to snatch Qing'e's body and become the great sage of all times. Under such circumstances, Shangwan Meiyang could only bring Qing'e and escape in a hurry. If they were captured, the two of them would not be able to keep their lives. Running out of the palace now was simply courting death. With the two of them, they wouldn't even be able to see the door. Right now, the only person they could place their hopes on was Sun Xiangyan. Immediately, the injured Shangwan Meiyang supported Su Qing'e and rushed towards Sun Xiangyan's palace. Chapter 862. Shangwan Meiyang's cultivation was not high, and during this period of time in the kingdom of Ziyu, it was only with Sun Xiangyan's help that she was able to enter the Spirit Emperor's cultivation. Now that she had suffered an attack from an expert of the immortal country, her injuries were naturally not optimistic. The two girls stumbled towards Sun Xiangyan's palace. As they approached, a few female soldiers noticed them. Who is it? Stop! The female soldiers drew their swords from their waists and immediately surrounded them. It's me. I am Princess Xinyan's junior sister, Shangwan Meiyang. She quickly said, I want to see senior sister. Please let me see senior sister quickly. Shangwan Meiyang? The female soldiers secretly looked at each other. You're the one who destroyed the Forbidden Grounds? Aren't you locked up? Why would he appear here? You must have escaped from prison. A few female soldiers scolded and immediately placed their swords on Shangwan Meiyang's neck. Capture her and bring her to the Empress Dowager. All right. With that, they escorted Shangwan Meiyang and Su Qing'e towards Empress Dowager Lu's bedroom. Seeing that, Shangwan Meiyang's pupils dilated. She was extremely shocked. How could she know that the guards at the door didn't even give her any chance to see her senior sister, and wanted to escort her back to see the Empress Dowager? At the very least, he should have informed Sun Xiangyan first. However, just as the female soldiers were about to leave, an angry voice rang out from the palace behind them. Stop right there. This voice belonged to Sun Xiangyan. The female soldiers trembled and immediately stopped in their tracks. A person quickly walked out of the hall. It was Sun Xiangyan. Her face was filled with anger, and her eyes were ice cold as she walked over. The female soldiers did not dare to be presumptuous. They immediately put down their swords and stood aside with their heads lowered. "Your Highness, do you still care about me, the princess?" Sun Xiangyan was furious. She stretched out her hand and slapped everyone. Pa pa pa. The sound was crisp. The female soldiers covered their faces, feeling wronged. "This person is my junior sister. No matter what crime she committed, you are not allowed to stop her, and you are not allowed to make decisions on your own," Sun Xiangyan said angrily. "What's more, I'm right here. Instead of bringing her to me, you brought her to the Empress Dowager." "What? Only the Empress Dowager will reward you? Or should I say, are you looking down on me? Aren't you afraid of my power?" I don't dare. Please forgive me, princess." The female soldiers all knelt down and cried out in grievance. "Men, here!" Several guards rushed over from all directions. "Lock them up first. I'll deal with them later." "Understood." The guards responded and dragged them away. Princess, please spare us." The female soldiers screamed miserably, but Sun Xiangyan turned a deaf ear to them. Shangwan Meiyang watched quietly for a while, then said, "Senior sister, they did not make any big mistakes. There is no need to punish them too heavily. If word of this spreads out, it will not be good for you. Junior sister, there's no need to worry. If I don't take this opportunity to pull out a few of Sun Li's spies, then when will I have to wait?" Sun Xiangyan snorted. Hearing that, Shangwan Meiyang suddenly understood. "Junior sister, what's wrong with you? How did you escape?" Sun Xiangyan looked at Shangwan Meiyang and saw that the two of them were not in a good state. So she immediately asked. Shangwan Meiyang hurriedly asked, "Senior sister, now is not the time to talk about this. I'm afraid that Sun Li knows about Qing'er possessing a divine body and has already sent people to the prison to capture him. I used the magic treasure that my mother gave me to pass down her position to me and risked my life to escape. They are probably still chasing after us. Senior sister, please quickly bring us out of here." "What?" Sun Xiangyan's face changed. "How did Sun Li know about Qing? That day when you came to visit the prison, he had spies watching us, and he heard everything we said. This person's cultivation is very high, and neither you nor I noticed it. It was Qing'er who noticed it, and let me be on guard, if not the two of us would have already been captured by Sun Li," Shangwan Meiyang said in a low voice. "Damn it." Sun Xiangyan gritted her teeth. "This Sun Li, he's really on guard against me. I'm surrounded by his spies, but I didn't expect that he wouldn't even let you go. Damn it. Senior sister, now is not the time to talk about this. Qing'er and I leaving the palace is the most important thing. Once the matter of Su Qing'er's divine body was exposed, the consequences would be unimaginable. I understand, but it will be very difficult to leave the palace now. Sun Di is not an idiot. He will definitely place spies outside the palace in advance. Now that you're injured and Qing'er is in this state, even if the two of you leave the palace, I'm afraid you won't be able to go far." Sun Xiangyan thought for a while. "According to my plan, you guys should temporarily hide here and recuperate. This is my palace. Even if Sun Li were to have 100 guts, he wouldn't dare to be presumptuous here. When your injuries are healed, I'll send you guys away." "All right." Shangwan Meiyang nodded. "Follow me," Sun Xiangyan said as she turned and walked inside. However, after taking a few steps, she turned her head and shouted at the surroundings. "You are not allowed to mention today's matter to anyone, and no one has come to my palace. Do you understand? If anyone leaks the news, I won't investigate who it was because I don't have the patience. What I want to do is to make all of your heads fall to the ground." "Yes, sir." Shouts came from all directions. Seeing this, Sun Xiangyan walked into the palace in satisfaction. Upon entering the palace, Sun Xiangyan hurriedly took out a pill and let Shangwan Meiyang consume it. At the same time, she personally used her qi to treat her injuries. Shangwan Meiyang was injured and was unable to help Su Qing'er guard her mind. She could only try her best to recover while Su Qing'er was in a daze. Sun Xiangyan sat behind Shangwan Meiyang, took off her shirt, and pressed her hands on her petite white jade back. Her long pink hair was lifted to the side and hung in front of her slightly swollen breasts. Blood flowed from the corner of Shangwan Mei Yang's mouth. Her face was pale white. She closed her eyes tightly, trying her best to cooperate with the profound qi that Sun Xiangyin had instilled into her body to heal the damaged areas. This continued for about an hour before Sun Xiangyin stopped. However, at this moment, she was sweating profusely and gasping for breath. "Junior sister, how is it? Is it better?" "Yes, I feel much better." Shangwan Mei Yang heaved a sigh of relief, then turned around and looked at Su Qing'er, who was curled up in a corner not far away. She then stood up and walked over, hugged Qing'er, and channeled profound qi into his body. "Junior sister, I know you love your disciple, but your own situation is not good right now. So how do you have the strength to care about Qing'er?" Sun Xiangyin said, with some worry, "Since Qing'er has acknowledged me as her master, I will naturally be responsible for her. I didn't expect you to be even more stubborn than me." Sun Xiangyin was helpless. She thought for a while, then took out a porcelain bottle from the inner room and handed it over to Shangwan Mei Yang. "These are some elementary-level tranquil heart pills. If you let Qing'er consume them, it should have an effect on her, although it won't last for long." Hearing that, Shangwan Mei Yang's face lit up. "If that's the case, then thank you, senior sister. Why are you so courteous to me?" Sun Xiangyin sighed. "Speaking of which, I was the one who caused all of you to be like this. I hope junior sister doesn't blame senior sister." "Junior sister doesn't dare." "All right, junior sister, master has already arrived at the Immortal Island." "What? Mother's already here?" Shangwan Mei Yang was immediately overjoyed and asked, "Where did mother go first?" "She's gone." Sun Xiangyin shook her head and said, "Master wants to see you, but was rejected by the Empress Dowager. Master's cultivation is not as high as the Empress Dowager's, so he can only return empty-handed." "That person seems to be your father?" "My father?" Shangwan Mei Yang was startled. "Junior sister, what is the background of your father? It seems to be very powerful." Sun Xiangyin asked. Shangwan Mei Yang hesitated for a moment. No one knew what she was thinking, but just as she was about to speak, a maid rushed in and shouted, "Princess! Princess! Something bad has happened." Hearing that, Sun Xiangyin frowned, stood up and shouted, "What happened? What's the point of shouting?" However, the maid ran in front of Sun Xiangyin and said anxiously, "Princess, that Sunli, His Highness Sun Li has brought a lot of people and is rushing over." "Sunli?" Sun Xiangyin's eyes narrowed. Could it be that this fellow really had borrowed 100 guts? "He most likely knows that we're here," Shangwan Mei Yang said in a low voice. "No way." Sun Xiangyin shook her head and said, "Those female soldiers have already been locked up by me. It's impossible for them to inform Sun Li, and the rest of them are my trusted aides. They won't betray us. Junior sister, don't worry." Shangwan Mei Yang did not speak. "You and Qing'er rest here first. I'll go out and take a look." Shangwan Mei Yang nodded her head. "Senior sister, you must be careful." "Yes." After Sun Xiangyin finished speaking, she walked out of the hall. Sun Xiangyin couldn't help but take a few steps back after exiting the palace. She raised her head and looked forward, only to see a group of people walking towards her palace. All of them had strong, profound qi and profound strength, and the person leading them was Sun Li. Sun Li's face was full of smiles as he hurriedly walked to the palace gate and stopped. "Greetings, Princess Xianyan." Sun Li bowed, but there was no hint of respect in his voice. "What are you doing here?" Sun Xiangyin coldly snorted. "Of course, it's to capture the fugitive." Sun Li said, "Capture the fugitive and bring him to this princess bedroom." "What? Are you saying that the fugitive is in this princess bedroom? Or could it be, this princess is your fugitive?" Sun Xiangyin flew into a rage on the spot and said angrily, "Sun Li doesn't dare. That fugitive will naturally not be you, Princess Xianyan, but she has an undeniable relationship with you." "Sun Xiangyin, I know that your relationship with your junior sister is not bad, but I also hope that you remember that your junior sister is the culprit behind the destruction of the forbidden area left behind by your ancestors. You must be clear about the current situation. She and her disciple must be hiding in your bedroom. You better hand it over obediently. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite." Sun Li laughed, his eyes full of playfulness. Chapter 863. Sun Xiangyin was furious. Her chest rose and fell, and her arms were trembling. "Sun Li, don't go too far. You need to know what kind of place this is. Don't think that I'll be afraid of you just because you brought so many people with you," Sun Xiangyin said angrily. "You said you want to be impolite to me. Good. I'll stand here and see which one of you dares to be impolite to me. Come on." As these words fell, the people beside Sun Li hesitated. This was the imperial palace of the kingdom of Ziyu. As a member of the imperial family, Sun Xiangyin still had her dignity. Who would dare to mess around? Once the princess was offended, it would be an insult to the imperial family. "Hee hee, Sun Xiangyin, you don't have to scare me like this. Well, have I, Sun Li, ever been afraid of you?" Sun Li sneered again and again, then put on a righteous look. "Everyone, the felon of my Ziyu immortal kingdom has escaped, but she has not left the imperial city and must still be in the palace. Now, we have searched the entire palace, but there is still no trace of the thief. I am sure that the thief must be hiding in this palace. Maybe your princess does not know that the thief has snuck in, but you do know that you're going to take her now, not to offend the princess, but for her safety. Even if this matter reaches the Empress Dowager's ears, the Empress Dowager will definitely be able to understand now. I order you to immediately go in and take her. I will clarify everything for the Empress Dowager. You are innocent. Now all of you attack." As these words fell, they completely dispelled the worries of the spirit cultivator. "Yes, sir," everyone shouted, and immediately rushed towards the sleeping quarters. "How dare you?" Sun Xiangyin was furious. She was completely annoyed. "Trespassing into this princess palace. Are you all tired of living? Kill them all." "Yes, sir." Waves of angry roars came from the shadows. Following that, over 100 figures rushed out from the palace, directly charging towards the spirit cultivators that were rushing towards the palace. These were all guards that Sun Xiangyin had trained. When the guards appeared, they were like a human wall, directly intercepting these people. The two sides began to fight, and the battle was in full swing at the entrance of the princess palace. Sun Xiangyin already understood that Sun Di knew everything, and was even more clear that he would not let the matter rest so easily. However, the people that Sun Di brought with him were all at the 5th stage of the Spirit Emperor, and were extremely powerful. The kingdom of Ziyu was not something that a small kingdom like the Jianghan realm could compare to. Any one of the experts here, if placed in the Jianghan realm, would be an incredible existence. Gradually, the guards could not hold on any longer. More and more people fell, and the guards also began to retreat, unable to resist. The blockade was about to be breached. Too impudent. Sun Xiangyin clenched her teeth and finally could not hold it in any longer. She activated her profound qi and rushed towards the spirit cultivators that Sun Li had brought with him. Her attacks were extremely ruthless. She approached a spirit cultivator and threw a punch at his head. When that expert saw that the person attacking him was Princess Xianyin, how could he dare to injure her? However, his reaction was slow, and he was hit in the head by Sun Xiangyin. His head was bleeding, and he was sent flying. His soul trembled, and he fainted. When the others saw this, they immediately distanced themselves. Sun Xiangyin had made her move. Facing the dignified first princess of the kingdom of Ziyu, these people could not be harmed or touched. They were in a difficult situation and could only hide. "You don't have to worry. Just trap this woman here. The others can go in and take her," Sun Di shouted. "Yes, sir." Everyone shouted, and immediately 2 of them surrounded Sun Xiangyin. One of them took out a copper bell from somewhere and threw it into the air. The bell rose into the air and floated above Sun Xiangyin's head. Immediately, a ray of gray light descended. Sun Xiangyin's expression changed drastically as she immediately moved her body. However, just as she moved, she was blocked by something. With a glance, the gray light that enveloped her was actually solid. They were even harder than Vajra. "Damn it, Sun Xiangyin took out her magic treasure, activated it, and fiercely smashed it towards the wall of light. Dong! 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 A few loud sounds rang out. However, the wall of light was unbreakable. Ha, good. Very good. Seeing Sun Xiangyin in such a state, Sun Di laughed out loud. You guys hurry up and go in and look for me. You must find those two women for me. Faster. Hearing this, all of Sun Di's spirit cultivators rushed towards Sun Xiangyin's chamber. Stop! How dare you? Trespassing into my chamber. I will definitely tear you all to pieces. Sun Xiangyin screamed at the top of her lungs. However, her voice did not have any effect. These spirit cultivators killed the guard who tried to stop them and directly entered the palace. Sun Xiangyin's face was already terrifyingly pale. Sun Di walked to the side of the wall of light and looked at the helpless Sun Xiangyin. A strange smile appeared on his face. My beautiful princess, do you know what you look like now? He lowered his voice and laughed. The current you is panicking, afraid, and nervous. I'm really happy to see your current expression, because your expression has already betrayed you, betrayed your junior sister. If your junior sister wasn't in the bedroom, you definitely wouldn't show such an expression. Looks like I didn't waste my efforts. Your junior sister is indeed inside. And of course, there's also her beautiful disciple. At this point, Sun Di's eyes shone with a bright light. When he thought of Su Qing'er's otherworldly and fairy-like temperament and her devastatingly beautiful appearance, a strong desire to possess her arose in his heart. Such a person should belong to him. Whether it was his soul or his body, they should all belong to him. Sun Di, what exactly do you want to do? Sun Xiangyin gritted her teeth and said, If you want to be the monarch, I'll give it to you. I can leave the immortal kingdom, but don't hurt my junior sister. Hee. If it was in the past, I would indeed want the position of monarch, but now I have a new goal, a new ideal. How can a mere monarch satisfy me? Compared to the body of God, this was simply too small, too little. If I obtained the body of God, wouldn't this kingdom of ZU belong to me? Sun Di? Sun Di's eyes were filled with a terrifying and ferocious light of greed. Sun Xiangyin's expression suddenly changed. At this moment, she understood Sun Di's plan. I won't let you succeed. Sun Xiangyin gritted her teeth. Since I've already come to your chamber, I've already decided to throw caution to the wind. Sun Xiangyin, do you really think I'm afraid of you? In the past, I tolerated you time and time again because I didn't want to make a big deal out of this. But today, I don't care anymore. Sun Di smiled, his hands behind his back, looking very pleased with himself. I want you to personally see me take your junior sister away, make you powerless. In the end, you can only see the cold corpse. Shameless. Sun Xiangyin was furious. However, the curses at this moment were all in vain. They had already entered the palace. With Shangwan Mei Yang and Su Qing'er's current state, it was impossible for them to escape the pursuit of these experts, much less fight against them. After entering the palace, the experts immediately dispersed. You guys go to the backyard and take a look. The rest of you disperse. These two women are not very strong and are easy to deal with. Once you find them, take them down immediately and hand them over to His Highness. Do you understand? Yes, sir. As the crowd shouted, they began to investigate. Actually, Shangwan Meiyang had already noticed the commotion outside and knew that Sun Di had come prepared. Sun Xiangyin found it hard to resist, and in a moment of desperation, she immediately brought Su Qing'er to hide beside the fake mountain in the back garden, using the magic treasure to conceal their qi. Su Qing'er swallowed the pill and recovered a little. She opened her sleepy eyes and said softly, Master, where are we going now? Return to the divine cloud immortal palace. Shangwan Meiyang held on to Su Qing'er's small hand tightly and said softly, Qing'er, you don't have to worry. Master will bring you back. Master, you should go first, don't lose your life for Qing'er, Su Qing'er said weakly. Silly girl, what are you talking about? Shangwan Meiyang shook her head. Since Master has brought you here, he will definitely bring you back. Don't talk too much, stay focused, and don't let those abilities drown your consciousness. Although Shangwan Meiyang looked much younger than Su Qing, her words and actions were like that of an elder sister. Take a look here. At this moment, a low shout suddenly came from outside. The two girls immediately shut their mouths, and their nerves immediately tensed up. A burst of profound qi instantly covered the entire back garden. Following that, a series of low and deep footsteps could be heard. Shangwan Meiyang's breathing became hurried. She could feel that the footsteps were slowly approaching. The back garden was not big, but there were only a few places that could hide people. How could this person not come here to search? It seemed like he couldn't hide it anymore. Shangwan Meiyang rolled her eyes. She clenched her teeth and took out her magic treasure, secretly activating it, preparing to launch a sneak attack. Master, don't act rashly. You're not his match. Just then, Su Qing was suddenly called out softly. But we have no other choice. Right now, we can only strike first in order to find an opportunity. Shangwan Meiyang said softly. In short, don't worry. Master will definitely bring you out of here safely. Wait a moment. Master will chase him away. However, how could Su Qing not know the current situation? Even if she was not in a good state, she was well aware of everything that was going on around her. She did not say anything else. She knew that it was useless to say anything to Shangwan Meiyang. So she stood up. Qing! Shangwan Meiyang was startled. With a flip of Su Qing's palm, a slender sword appeared in her hand. Master, when that person gets close, you and I will attack together, catch him off guard, and then quickly leave this place. Go find Empress Dowager Lu. If we find Empress Dowager Lu, he will definitely not dare to reveal my secret. Although Empress Dowager Lu will severely punish us, for the sake of Senior Master and the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace, she will definitely not harm our lives. Su Qing said in a low voice. Chapter 864. Hearing Su Qing's words, Shangwan Meiyang immediately became extremely anxious. Qing, don't be rash. They have a lot of people, and their cultivation is strong. It will be extremely difficult for the two of us to break out. With your current state, you are not suitable to fight. Let Master do it. You take advantage of the chaos to escape first. Master, why are you so good to me? Su Qing turned his head and asked softly. Shangwan Meiyang was startled, then smiled. Silly girl, you are my disciple. Su Qing opened her eyes wide and looked at the petite and cute young lady with long pink hair. Her face was filled with confusion, but in the end, all of this turned into gratitude. I originally thought that young Master was the only one in this world who treated me well. Isn't there just one more person now? There will be more in the future. It is impossible for a person to truly be alone in their life. It all depends on whether or not they meet the right person. Her eyes were wide open, filled with a trace of confusion. All right, Qing, now is not the time to talk about this. Let's think of a way to leave first. Shangwan Meiyang said. Yes. Su Qing nodded, but at that moment, she had already made up her mind. Dong! Suddenly, the fake mountain that was hiding the two girls exploded, and a shockwave dispersed the magic treasure that was hiding the two girls' qi, directly sending them flying. The two girls were caught off guard and fell onto the grass behind them. Su Qing's face was pale white, but Shangwan Meiyang was not feeling well either. This attack had affected her previous injuries, causing blood to flow out of the corner of her mouth once again. Hee. Two ants, you want to hide from this lord's eyes? Not far away, a man holding two blades revealed a cold smile as he looked at the two girls sinisterly. When he saw Su Qing, his ice-cold eyes couldn't help but flash with a trace of amazement. There was actually such a beautiful person in this world. However, she was still unable to escape this calamity. The man thought and walked straight towards the two girls. Obediently surrender, otherwise I can only bring your corpses to report to His Highness. However, these words could not change anything. Shangwan Meiyang's eyes tensed up and immediately shouted, Don't even think about it. As soon as she finished speaking, she charged towards the man. With a raise of her palm, a wisp of restless, profound energy flashed on her fair little palm, and she directly slapped it towards the man's chest. Her attack was very fast, there was no warning at all, and her speed was not slow either, but the difference in cultivation was too great. The man did not even dodge. He directly raised his leg and fiercely kicked Shangwan Mei Yang in the stomach. She thought that she was fast, but in the man's eyes, it was not fast at all. Dong! Shangwan Mei Yang crashed into the wall behind her, smashing the wall into pieces. Her petite body fiercely fell to the ground. Her pink long hair was in a mess. Her eyes were half open. The blood in her mouth was getting more and more red. She could not even stand up. Master! Qing'er's face was pale white. She cried out weakly and quickly ran toward Shangwan Mei Yang. She helped Shangwan Mei Yang up, but at the moment, Shangwan Mei Yang had already lost most of her strength. Her entire body was like a ball of cotton. Her delicate body was even trembling, showing how miserable and ruthless this attack was. Qing'er, what are you still standing there for? Why don't you hurry up and leave? Shangwan Mei Yang's voice was so soft that it was almost inaudible, but she still insisted on speaking. Master, Qing'er bit her lips tightly, her eyeballs rolling in her eyes, but she forced herself not to let her tears fall. Her face was filled with grief, pain, confusion, and malevolence. Oh, I didn't expect those two mice to be here. Hee, I already said that they wouldn't be able to escape. Aren't they still obediently returning to our hands? This time, I can ask for more reward from your highness. Ha! Just then, more spirit cultivator experts walked over from the back garden entrance. There were more than 10 of them, and 2 of them directly walked towards Su Qing'er and Shangwan Mei Yang. Smiles appeared on their faces, and they looked at the 2 of them as if they were looking at 2 chicks. Don't waste time. This is Princess Xinyin's palace after all. We have to leave quickly. Otherwise, if anyone comes over, we'll be in trouble. One of them urged. Got it. The 2 of them answered in unison, and then extended their hands to grab the 2 girls and leave. But in the next second, a profound chi suddenly rose up, and like a spinning flower, it fiercely smashed onto the 2 of them. Boom! The 2 of them were like shooting stars, smashing through the roof tiles and flying out. A sudden change occurred. What's going on? Everyone was stunned. At that place, Su Qing'er was already standing in front of Shangwan Mei Yang. The current her profound chi was flowing chaotically. Her clothes were fluttering in the wind, and her entire body was wrapped in profound chi. Seeing that, Shangwan Mei Yang's face changed. Qing'er, quickly stop. Don't use the profound chi. Hurry up and stop. Shangwan Mei Yang shouted with all her might. But Su Qing'er could not hear her. Her body swayed as she turned around and looked at Shangwan Mei Yang in confusion. Master, Father, what are you talking about? Her voice also became softer and softer, and her eyes slowly became empty. A strange aura rose around her body. Shangwan Mei Yang already understood what was going on. Su Qing'er, he was releasing the energy in his body. She did not plan to suppress it, nor did she plan to defend her mind. At this moment, she already had the mentality of perishing together with her opponent. She needed power, a lot of power, a power that could crush everything. And right now, she had this condition. Seeing Su Qing'er's change, the spirit cultivators that Sun Di brought with him were all extremely shocked. They could feel the strange and powerful chi on Su Qing'er's body. It had only been a moment, so why had she changed so much? Maybe she used some magic treasure. Everyone, there's no need to hesitate. Just go up and quickly take the 2 of them away. If we delay any longer, I'm afraid there will be more problems. A person whispered. Everyone understood. This was the imperial palace after all. If the matter got out of hand, as the crown prince of the kingdom of Ziyu, as long as his crimes were not big, nothing would happen to him. However, they, as subordinates, were different. They would most likely become scapegoats, and only by bringing their people away early would they be able to live in peace. Another 5 people rushed over. They split into 5 different directions, and at the same time, they released their profound strength and attacked at the same time, with the intention of completely scattering the profound chi around Su Qing'er's body and subduing him. But the moment they got close to Qing'er, with Qing'er as the center, a purple cloud mysteriously rose. The appearance of the cloud was too sudden, and before anyone could react, they were already engulfed by it. Be careful. However, it was too late to remind him. The purple cloud appeared, and these people entered it, disappearing one by one. When the clouds dispersed, the figures of the people disappeared. All that could be seen was the young girl, standing in the middle of the purple clouds. Everyone's eyeballs seemed as if they were about to fall out of their sockets. 5 spirit emperor experts. Just like that, it disappeared. Their hearts were beating wildly, and their souls felt as if they were about to jump out of their bodies. At this moment, her beautiful face was completely devoid of blood. Her eyes were completely white, and she looked extremely cautious, as if she had lost her soul. Her small mouth, which should have been pink and tender, was also extremely pale. The temperature around her was very low, but it was surrounded by a strange aura. She held on her sword that was as slender as water, and quietly looked at these people. "Don't hurt, master." She opened her mouth and spat out a few words. "This guy, what the hell is going on?" Those people were already in a complete panic. Her cultivation is unfathomable, but her condition doesn't seem like someone who can fight. But why is she so strong? I'm afraid the plan has changed. 7 people have been defeated, and those who have died are dead. Even if all of us were to attack, I'm afraid we wouldn't be able to take advantage of it. The situation is special. Everyone, do not persevere, retreat. One of them shouted, and then, ignoring the crowd, he turned around and ran out of the back garden. With someone taking the lead, how could the others still stand there? They immediately took large strides and fled. At this moment, they did not care about Sun Li's orders. However, Su Qing'er did not have the slightest intention of letting these people go. With a light tap of her feet, she suddenly disappeared. "Qing'er, come back quickly," Shangguan Meiyang shouted. However, it was of no use at all. Su Qing'er had already disappeared. She was already heavily injured, and it was difficult for her to hold on for long. So how could she stop Su Qing'er? The commotion in the back garden had long attracted Sun Li and the others at the front gate. At first, he did not reveal any surprise, and only thought that everyone had discovered Shangguan Meiyang and the others, and that the 2 of them were putting up a meaningless resistance. However, when he saw 2 experts flying out from the back garden, he felt that something was amiss. However, he did not dare to go in and investigate, so he could only wait outside carefully. At this moment, a large group of experts suddenly flew out. Everyone looked panicked, as if they were running for their lives. "Quick, quick, run for your life!" Roars rang out. Seeing this, Sun Li was immediately dumbfounded. "Meng Kuan, Changyu, what are you doing? Where is he? Where are the people I asked you to capture?" "Your Highness, go. Let's go." The few spirit cultivators shouted, but they did not care about Sun Li at all, and directly flew into the sky, wanting to leave the palace. Sun Li was puzzled, but before he could think too much, a ray of light shot out from the depths of Sun Xinyan's palace, straight into the sky. In an instant, the blue sky turned dark red, like the sky under the setting sun. Thick clouds gathered, and the sky seemed especially oppressive. These spirit cultivator experts were still flying in the air, but they crashed into a cloud and fell down. The cloud was as hard as steel. Such a sudden change caused everyone to be stunned. However, a trembling figure slowly walked out of the bedchamber. That person was Su Qing'er. Chapter 865. When Sun Li saw this, his eyes lit up, but it quickly changed again. "It's you, girl." Sun Li pointed at Su Qing'er, his fingers trembling, as though he was extremely shocked. He shouted loudly at the people beside him. "What are you idiots still standing there for? Why aren't you going up and capturing her?" However, none of the experts on both sides dared to step forward. They looked at Su Qing'er with fear in their eyes, their bodies trembling slightly, their faces revealing fear. In the end, one of them actually turned around and ran. What was going on? Sun Li was stunned. At this moment, he felt a fishy wind coming from behind him. He turned around and glanced around. However, with just a glance, he was completely stunned, as if he had been petrified. At this moment, a huge change had occurred in the sky. The clouds that filled the sky had turned blood red, and the thick clouds automatically transformed into two huge giants, connecting the sky and the earth. The giants looked like fairies, dressed in red robes, and their long hair hung down. At this moment, they were stretching out their two huge hands, grabbing the spirit cultivators who were fleeing in the air, and then crushing them. The rosy clouds were like steel, and the captured spirit cultivator's body was directly crushed into meat paste. Even his soul was forcefully crushed, and he was instantly killed. That was an existence at the peak of the spirit emperor. It was as if he was slaughtering pigs and dogs. This woman, could it be that she has the cultivation of a spirit sage? Sun Li's body trembled violently. His soul was about to scatter from fright. At this time, how could he still dare to think about Su Qing'er's divine body? Right now, survival was naturally the most important thing. As a result, Sun Li did not care about anything else and immediately turned around to run. The female spirit cultivator who trapped Sun Xianyan was not an idiot. Everyone was running. Could it be that she was the last one? With the magic treasure removed, she fled 1,000 miles away, and Sun Xianyan was also freed from the suppression. Su Qing'er turned her empty eyes and looked at the female cultivator who was flying away. She seemed to have activated some magic treasure, and her speed was much faster than the other spirit cultivatoress. However, it was useless at this moment. Su Qing'er raised her jade arm and gently extended it forward. In an instant, the clouds in the sky transformed once again, condensing into a huge, slender arm that directly wrapped around the female cultivator. The majestic clouds were incomparably huge, just like the giants created by the primogenitor. The female cultivator let out a terrified scream, and in the next second, her body disappeared into the clouds. However, once the female cultivator died, Su Qing'er immediately focused her attention on Sun Di, who was also running away. Su Qing'er only took a glance, and Sun Li felt his entire body suddenly turn ice cold, as if his blood was about to freeze. Sun Di's entire body was trembling. Although he did not turn around, he knew that the woman had already set her eyes on him. This indescribable chill was simply unbearable. Sun Xianyan stared blankly at Su Qing'er, who was at the entrance of the palace. She was so shocked that she couldn't speak. However, at this time, if she still didn't know what had happened, then she wouldn't be fit to be a member of the Sun family. Qing'er, quickly stop. Don't use this energy anymore. Otherwise, once your consciousness is submerged by this energy, you'll also be in danger. Stop, Sun Xianyan exclaimed. However, her words could not stop Qing'er. She raised her hand and extended it towards Sun Li in the distance. Hua! The clouds in the sky fell one after another, directly forming a huge layer of clouds in front of Sun Li. This layer of clouds was like an iron wall, directly sealing off his path forward. Sun Li didn't have time to stop in time and directly crashed into the clouds. His head was dizzy and he was in a daze. Even if he wanted to release profound qi to contend against it, he wouldn't be able to. The opponent's profound energy was simply as strong as the heavens and earth. When he saw what was in front of him, he was already scared out of his wits. He hurriedly turned his head and ran in another direction. But even those spirit cultivator experts couldn't escape Su Qing'er's grasp. So how could he escape? A large number of clouds condensed out of thin air in all directions, surrounding Sun Li tightly. He had nowhere to run to. He opened his eyes wide in fear as he looked at the terrifying clouds approaching him. His entire body trembled, like a mouse that had been forced into a corner. Quickly stop. Just at this moment of life and death, Sun Xianyan suddenly rushed in front of Su Qing'er and grabbed her raised hand. The clouds stopped. The sky, which had already turned blood red, also quieted down. Su Qing'er turned her neck and looked at Sun Xianyan with her empty eyes. She took out a pill from somewhere and forcefully stuffed it into Su Qing'er's mouth. In that moment, Su Qing'er once again cast her technique, wanting to attack Sun Xianyan. However, her palm stopped in midair. Her empty eyes flashed with a trace of light, and her translucent white pupils also flickered with a bit of gray. As the pill entered his throat, Su Qing'er's action stopped. Seeing the subtle change in Su Qing'er, Sun Xiangyin immediately pressed down on her shoulder and shouted, "Qing'er, Qing'er, you must hold on, don't give up. Keep your mind, keep your mind. Senior uncle, you, hurry up and leave." Su Qing'er's expression became somewhat pained as she spoke in a low voice. Her voice was extremely weak, as if she was suppressing something. However, Sun Xiangyin did not give up. She immediately activated her profound energy and channeled it into Su Qing'er's body. "Qing'er, I know you hate Sunli. Actually, I hate him too, but no matter how much I hate him, I can't mess around. Do you understand? As a member of the imperial family of the Celestial Kingdom, Sunli has a noble status and is deeply loved by his royal father. If you kill him here, the entire kingdom of Ziyu will definitely view you as an enemy. At that time, not to mention that no one in the world will be able to protect you. Even the divine Cloud Immortal Palace will be implicated by you. You must persevere and guard your mind." But I can't control myself." Su Qing'er clenched her teeth, beads of sweat dripping down her beautiful face. "You must persevere. You must have obtained the inheritance of the ancestor of the kingdom of Ziyu. However, this energy is too huge. You can only slowly cultivate your heart in order to control it. Otherwise, you will only be controlled by this energy. No matter what, you must persevere." "But that person hurt, Master. Hurt, young Master. I want to kill him." Su Qing'er muttered. She had just recovered a little, but for some reason, she recovered again. Her eyes returned to being empty, and her face became extremely pale. Sun Xiangyin was stunned, but very quickly, she understood everything. At this moment, it was not that Su Qing'er did not want to keep her mind, but deep in her heart, she was subconsciously resisting reason. Qing'er actually wanted to kill Sunli very much. And it was precisely because of this subconscious mentality that all her efforts to suppress it were futile. No, he could not let Qing'er kill Sunli, or else the consequences would be unimaginable. Sun Xiangyin clenched her teeth, turned her head to look at Su Qing'er, and in the end, made her move, releasing profound qi, and directly aimed at her neck, intending to temporarily seal off her qi meridian and consciousness and subdue her. She had clearly overestimated herself. The current Su Qing'er's cultivation had long surpassed the existence of the Spirit Emperor, and even ordinary Spirit Sage S would not be able to contend against her. Even if Sun Xiangyin relied on a sneak attack, she would not be able to injure Su Qing'er in the slightest. Before her attack could even get close, it was knocked away by a strange energy, and she was sent flying. Sun Xiangyin hurriedly stood up, but it was too late. At this moment, Su Qing'er was no longer someone she could restrain. No matter who came, they would not be able to stop her. Su Qing'er's consciousness was already very weak. Su Qing'er gently pinched her hand, and the clouds that surrounded Sunli in the sky immediately fused together. Sunli was completely devoured. Soon after, the clouds gradually dispersed, and the sky once again revealed its original azure color. However, but it had already disappeared. Sun Xiangyin stared blankly at the sky, her face unable to calm down for a long time. "This time, it's going to be troublesome," she murmured. With Sun Li's death, Su Qing'er also put down her hand, and the energy that was circling around her body also weakened a bit. Her body took a few steps back, staggering, and her body trembled violently. "Qing'er, are you all right?" Sun Xiangyin got up and wanted to go over, but halfway there, she hesitated. "I'm fine." Su Qing'er's voice that was as soft as a mosquito came out. She crouched down and curled up her body, the sweat on her face still dripping nonstop. But at this moment, she endured all the discomfort and insisted, "Senior Master, I'm sorry. I can't control myself. It's useless to say this now. It's good that you're fine. Senior Master, you, hurry up and go inside to take a look at Master. Her injuries are very serious. But, you, Senior Master, hurry." Su Qing'er insisted. Hearing that, Sun Xiangyin could only nod her head. The strength that Su Qing'er had displayed was too shocking. She knew that she could not help Su Qing'er with anything and could only rely on her own determination. Sun Xiangyin ran into the back garden and saw Shangwan Mei Yang lying on the ground. She immediately rushed over and treated her injuries. Su Qing'er stood alone outside the palace. The air was filled with the smell of blood. The people inside and outside the palace had either fled or died. It was already very deserted. However, Sun Xiangyin's sleeping quarters were very cold and cheerless, while the entire kingdom of Ziyu's palace was in an uproar. Countless experts rushed over, and the imperial guards of the imperial palace rushed over in groups. Empress Dowager Lu was the first to find out about the commotion and immediately put down what she was doing, leading the countless experts of the kingdom of Ziyu to rush over. Sun Xiangyin, who was treating Shangwan Mei Yang's injuries, was the first to wake up. She suddenly opened her eyes wide, but did not dare to move. At the moment, Shangwan Mei Yang's injuries were too severe if she did not receive treatment in time, not to mention her physical body dying. Even her soul would not be able to survive. However, outside the palace gate, there was only Su Qing. Her current situation was not optimistic either. Was she going to face the Sun Clan's imperial family alone? Chapter 866. The commotion in Sun Xianyin's bedroom caused waves after waves to rise in the tranquil Ziyu imperial palace. Empress Dowager Lu led a large number of experts from the palace to this place. Before they even got close, everyone could smell the strange smell of blood mixed in the wind. Empress Dowager Lu's face darkened as she increased her speed and rushed towards Sun Xiangyin's chamber. As they entered the chamber, they saw corpses all over the ground. These were all Sun Xiangyin's guards. The Xian energy that had yet to disperse lingered in the air. The surrounding buildings were all destroyed, and traces of fighting were everywhere inside and outside the sleeping quarters. It was a mess everywhere. Empress Dowager Lu's face darkened. What is this place? This was the imperial palace of the kingdom of Ziyu. However, a chaotic battle had broken out here. Who dared to mess around here? This was a blatant challenge to the prestige of the royal family of the Celestial Empire. She quickly walked forward, and the experts behind her also dispersed and began to investigate, but the first thing they saw was Qing Er leaning on the entrance of the palace, paralyzed on the ground, gasping for breath. This person is She was Shangwan Mei Yang's disciple. It's the person who destroyed the forbidden area. Isn't she locked up? Why are you here? Empress Dowager Lu turned her head and questioned everyone. Everyone looked at each other in confusion, but a few of them lowered their heads. Li Shun, what is going on? Empress Dowager Lu shouted angrily. Li Shun, who was in charge of the prison, hurriedly walked out, knelt down on both knees, and shouted anxiously. Empress Dowager, this lowly one does not know about this matter either. The prison official came to report that His Highness Sun Biao had come under the orders of the Empress Dowager to bring him away. We did not dare to disobey the Empress Dowager's orders. So we allowed Lord Sun Biao to enter the prison and take away Shangwan Mei Yang and her disciple. There was a fight in the prison, and the cell was destroyed. This lowly one went in to inquire, but His Highness Sun Biao said that nothing had happened and told this lowly one not to make sound. Li Shun's entire body was trembling, and even his words were trembling. Empress Dowager Lu's expression changed. I have never issued any edict for Sun Li to bring anyone up. You must be lying to me. Empress Dowager Lu shouted. Guards, your subordinate is here. Drag him away and behead him. Destroy his soul. Understood. 2 guards immediately stepped forward. When Li Shun heard this, he was scared out of his wits. He quickly kowtowed and cried, Empress Dowager, spare me, spare me. This lowly one definitely wouldn't dare to lie to you. It was indeed His Highness Sun Li who took him away. This lowly one's every word is true, absolutely true. Empress Dowager, please spare my life. Empress Dowager Lu did not listen and shouted again, drag them away, drag him away. The guards didn't dare to hesitate and directly brought Li Shun away like a dead pig. No one dared to make a sound. Empress Dowager Lu on the other hand, was extremely angry. After an unknown period of time, she turned her head and said to the person beside her, "Quickly go and summon Sun Li to see me." Yes, the bystanders nodded and immediately retreated. Everyone knew that Li Shun wasn't lying. His lies couldn't fool anyone. As soon as they confronted each other, his true colors would be revealed. However, he still ended up like this. One could only say that Empress Dowager Lu was insistent on killing him. If not, if what Li Shun said was true and this matter was spread out, the Purple Moon Immortal Empire would surely lose face. Empress Dowager Lu secretly snorted. Her gaze once again landed on Su Qinger, who was in the distance, and she walked over. "Little girl, tell me honestly what happened here," she said in a deep voice, her voice filled with arrogance. However, Su Qinger lowered her head, her delicate body trembling, as if she did not hear her words. "Damn it! How dare you ignore me?" Empress Dowager Lu was furious and shouted, "Pull her up." "Yes, sir." A guard quickly walked over, wanting to grab Su Qinger's hand and drag her up. However, just as the guard approached her, a strange power suddenly erupted from Su Qinger's body. The guard was caught off guard and was pierced through by the power, directly tearing apart. Blood splattered everywhere, and pieces of corpses flew everywhere. Everyone was stunned. What was going on? Did the other party make a move? But no one saw her make a move. So uncomfortable. A murmur came out, and the person who was trembling stopped trembling. She slowly raised her head, and a pair of completely empty eyes appeared in the line of sight of Empress Dowager Lu and the rest. Empress Dowager Lu swore that she had never seen such empty, lifeless eyes before. Her eyes were very beautiful. Regardless of whether it was her eyelashes, eyelids, or pupils, they could all be said to be perfect. Even the most powerful painter would not be able to describe her eyes, but at this moment, her eyes seemed to have lost their soul, causing people to feel numb all over their bodies. This is... Empress Dowager Lu's phoenix eyes suddenly darkened. She seemed to have sensed something. "Why do I have a feeling that makes me want to kneel down and worship him?" She thought to herself. This girl was very special. She must have some secret on her. Maybe it was a special physique. "Take her down," Empress Dowager Lu bellowed. The surrounding experts of the palace were no longer silent, and immediately rushed towards Su Qinger. Although no one knew who this girl was, everyone knew that she was not an easy person to deal with. Everyone urged their qi, gathered together, and pressed down on Su Qinger. The pressure gathered by the dozens of experts at the peak of the Spirit Emperor was enough to cause anyone's body and mind to collapse. However, after the qi enveloped Su Qinger, she actually did not have the slightest reaction. "Be careful. He's not easy to deal with." A spirit cultivator expert was shocked and shouted loudly, "This person's cultivation cannot be seen through. If he is not wearing a magic treasure that can hide his cultivation, then he has the strength of a spirit sage. Be careful." A female cultivator's voice was almost screaming. These words were extremely ear-piercing, causing people to feel very uncomfortable. However, everyone who heard it at this moment was filled with fear and trepidation, their souls trembling. Spirit sage? This girl might have the cultivation of a spirit sage? What kind of existence was that? If that was the case, then these people would be courting death. Although there was no lack of peak Spirit Emperor existences among them, they had no chance of winning against the Spirit Sage. The existence of the Spirit Sage could be said to be a true saint and could already be considered as someone who had just stepped into the realm of immortals and was not something ordinary mortals could compare to. Although there were many experts here, but if Su Qinger really had such a method, no matter how many people there were, they would just be throwing their lives away. Thinking of this, the few people at the front couldn't help but slow down their movements. Death? Everyone was afraid, especially those who had cultivated to their level. They were actually the most afraid of death because they all knew that it wasn't easy for them to have the strength they had today. Once they died, regardless of whether their souls could survive or not, their entire lives would be destroyed. What are you all still standing there for? Seeing that everyone had stopped moving, Empress Dowager Lu was immediately enraged and shouted loudly, All of you attack. This is the imperial palace of the kingdom of Zu. No one is allowed to be impudent here. I do not care if she's a spirit sage or not. If we do not capture her today, all of your heads will fall to the ground." The Empress Dowager's words were like 1,000 kilograms of pressure, causing everyone to be unable to breathe. If they did not go up, they would die. If they did, they might still have a chance to survive. Everyone hesitated for a moment, but in the end, they chose to compromise. Let's all rush forward. This person doesn't seem to be in a good state. Take this opportunity to take her down and hand her over to the Empress Dowager. A person growled. All right, everyone agreed and made their move. However, just as everyone was about to attack Su Qing'er made the first move. Crash! A strong gust of wind blew over, and immediately after, everything around them turned dark red. Unknowingly, everyone discovered that they were actually enveloped in a hazy fog. What's going on? Someone was panicking. Don't worry about it. Let's take this person down first. A few spirit cultivator experts rushed towards Su Qing'er in a triangular formation. The three of them had a high level of tacit understanding, and at the same time, they attacked Su Qing'er from the left, right, and back. The three profound Qis were like three swimming dragons, directly attacking the seemingly delicate and weak body. The three of them were breathing nervously as they stared at the delicate and weak young girl. Their hearts were in their throats. However, the attacks of the three of them were already approaching the young girl, but the young girl did not react at all. A good chance. The three of them were secretly rejoicing. The attacks were already close, not even a meter away. With the strength and speed of the attacks, even if the young lady was truly a spirit sage, it was impossible for her to block them. They were about to succeed. The rest of the people were also overjoyed. But just at this critical moment, clang, 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 three muffled sounds suddenly came out. Everyone was shocked. They turned to look, only to see that around Su Qing'er's delicate body, a large amount of scarlet red clouds had suddenly condensed. These clouds and mist were as light as muslin, rendering the beautiful young lady like a fairy. However, although the clouds and mist looked gentle, they were incomparably hard, and when the three roaming dragon profound chi hit it, it was as if they had hit a diamond, unable to enter at all, and not even the slightest bit of damage was brought out. This was even stronger than the divine clothes. What? The experts of the palace were dumbstruck. The three people who were close to Su Qing'er were even more dumbstruck. Originally, he had hoped that this attack would be able to subdue Su Qing'er. Even if he could not kill her, it should not be difficult for him to heavily injure her. As the three of them approached, Su Qing'er seemed to have sensed them. She gently turned her fair neck and looked at the three of them with her beautiful face. In that moment, the three of them felt as if they were in an ice cellar. Their bodies suddenly became ice cold, and the profound chi in their bodies seemed to have been frozen, making them feel extremely uncomfortable. This is bad. Empress Dowager Lu suddenly cried out involuntarily. Everyone retreat, quickly. With that, she was the first to rush out of the scarlet mist. Some of the spirit cultivators, with fast reactions, followed closely behind the Empress Dowager and rushed out, but those with slow reactions were too late. The scarlet red mist that was floating around Qing'er seemed to have solidified in an instant. In that instant, the entrance of the palace became quiet. Chapter 867. Empress Dowager Lu opened her eyes wide, staring straight at the scarlet red clouds. After a long while, however, he still couldn't see the person who had been engulfed by the clouds appear. Slowly, the scarlet red clouds surrounding Su Qing'er gradually thinned out, and the hazy scene became clearer and clearer. Everyone opened their eyes wide and looked over, but a strange scene appeared. It was empty. Other than Su Qing'er, who was trembling in place, there was no one else. Everything was the same as before, and everything had vanished into thin air. When Empress Dowager Lu and the rest fled, a total of 19 people rushed out, but she brought at least 60 people with her. Now that there were only 19 people left, that meant that there were more than 40 people who did not know if they were alive or dead, and it was extremely likely that they had been erased by Su Qing'er. More than 40 spirit emperor experts. Empress Dowager Lu felt as if her heart was about to jump out of her throat. When she looked at Su Qing'er again, she was filled with fear and shock. To kill so many experts in the blink of an eye, it would be extremely easy for her to get rid of her. Where are they? Where did they go? The people at the side shouted in fear. Did they all get killed by this woman? They're all dead? Spirit Sage. This person must have the strength of a Spirit Sage. Oh my God, I'm actually facing a Spirit Sage. Facing a saint. Panicked voices rose and fell. Everyone was completely panicking this time. Spirit Sage. That was an existence that had transcended the mortal realm. Spirit cultivator of this level was no longer immortal. They were already saints who had just peeked into the heavenly Tao. To go against a saint, wouldn't that be going against the heavens? Empress Dowager, what should we do now? One of them mustered up his courage and flew to Empress Dowager Lu's side and said softly, facing the Spirit Sage, just relying on these people was far from enough. What are you panicking for? Empress Dowager Lu clenched her teeth and shouted angrily. Everyone was shocked and lowered their heads in unison, not daring to say a word. But Empress Dowager Lu snorted and said coldly, although she is a Spirit Sage, but so what? Could it be that my dignified kingdom of Ziyu is afraid of this Spirit Sage? Even if that's the case, but the Empress Dowager is right now. We are unable to contend against the Spirit Sage, and if we go over to take them, we will just be throwing our lives away. One of them said in a trembling voice, Are you afraid of death? Empress Dowager Lu turned her head and glared at him. Empress Dowager, your humble servant didn't mean that. It's just that everything you're doing now is a meaningless sacrifice. Men, capture him. Empress Dowager Lu shouted, since he is afraid of death, then cripple his cultivation and expel him from the kingdom of Ziyu. My celestial nation doesn't need cowards who are afraid of death. Empress Dowager. That's not what I meant. Empress Dowager. Men. Yes. The two guards braced themselves and ran over, directly bringing the spirit cultivator away. No matter how miserably the spirit cultivator screamed, it was unable to shake the Empress Dowager's determination. When the others saw this, they immediately understood Empress Dowager Lu's determination. Thus, no one dared to make a sound, afraid that Empress Dowager Lu would be dissatisfied and suffer together. Empress Dowager, since we are not afraid of death, we still need to deal with this person immediately. Currently, His Highness Sun Li and Princess Sun Xiangyan are nowhere to be seen, and this humble subject is worried that they will be persecuted by this person. Since this person is Shangguan Mei Yang's disciple, she must have some connections with the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace. We should find Shangguan Mei Yang right now, and send someone to contact the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace to let them deal with this person. An old minister walked over and said in a low voice. With that said, Empress Dowager Lu's gloomy face looked much better. Listen, that's what I want to hear. You people, when you encounter a sudden change, you will panic. If you don't cultivate your temperament, you won't be able to achieve anything in the future. The Empress Dowager snorted, then said in a deep voice, Immediately send someone to the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace and get Shangguan Qingcheng to quickly give me an explanation. In addition, seal off the palace, find Shangguan Mei Yang and Princess Xianyan, and His Highness Sun Li. Do you understand? This subordinate will do it immediately. A servant replied, and then hurriedly ran away. This person doesn't seem to be right. She doesn't seem to have any intention of attacking us. Empress Dowager, we can temporarily not move and quietly observe the situation. We should first think of a countermeasure and make arrangements. That's right. I remember that something was wrong with this girl when she was with Shangguan Mei Yang. This humble subject thinks that we should set up a formation around this place. With this palace as the point, we should construct a cage and trap her first. All right. Empress Dowager Lu nodded in satisfaction. You guys go and do it immediately. Yes, sir. Quite a few people dispersed, but more and more people rushed over from all directions of the palace. Empress Dowager. At this moment, a cry came from afar. Empress Dowager Lu turned around and saw the second prince, Sun Gonghu, leading a large number of experts over. Seeing this, Empress Dowager Lu felt relieved. Gonghu is here. I have nothing to worry about. When everyone saw who it was, their nervous hearts relaxed a lot. Sun Gonghu rushed over and bowed to Empress Dowager Lu. Gonghu greets the Empress Dowager. Don't be so polite. Get up and talk. Empress Dowager Lu smiled. Yes, Empress Dowager. Sun Gonghu stood up. He looked at Su Qing'er and said, Empress Dowager, Gonghu already knows about this matter, knowing that this person's strength is not ordinary. Gonghu brought more than 40 experts above the 8th stage of the Spirit Emperor as fast as he could to support him. No matter where these experts were placed in the ultimate martial world, they would be an astonishing force. However, in the kingdom of Ziyu, they would only be thugs. Hearing that, although Empress Dowager Lu was happy, she still shook her head. Not enough. This person is an existence of the Spirit Sage. With just the Spirit Emperor, no matter how many people come, they will only be throwing their lives away. Spirit Sage? Everyone was shocked. Sun Gonghu was even more stunned. If the other party was really a Spirit Sage, just relying on this little bit of people would not be enough. However, who could the kingdom of Ziyu find to contend against the experts of the Spirit Sage? Everyone was worried and understood why Empress Dowager Lu stopped here to deal with the Spirit Sage. I'm afraid I'll need an army. Empress Dowager, could it be that my immortal country is unable to do anything to a mere Spirit Sage? Sun Gonghu said in a low voice, my immortal country can easily kill the Spirit Sage. The Empress Dowager is completely free of worries. Oh, what can you do? Empress Dowager Lu hurriedly asked. Gonghu is useless, but the ancestors of the immortal country left behind many treasures. My immortal country's national treasure, the Sword of Congealed Cloud, will definitely be able to kill this person. Sun Gonghu said, his voice somewhat tense. With that said, Empress Dowager Lu's face immediately darkened. The Sword of Congealed Cloud is a treasure left behind by our ancestors. It can be said to be a divine object of our immortal country. If we use it on this person, how should we explain it to our ancestors? If we don't get rid of this person, the immortal country will definitely be destroyed. Destroy? It's not that serious. A Spirit Sage doesn't have that ability. Empress Dowager Lu turned her head and stared at Su Qing'er and said, but this person's methods make me feel strange. Strange? The technique this person uses is quite similar to my immortal country's national technique, the Moon Cloud technique. However, the clouds created by the Moon Cloud divine technique are all purple in color, while the clouds she uses are crimson in color. Furthermore, its power is extremely terrifying. It seems like it's not, but it's really strange. How could this person know such a method? Sun Gonghu asked. I don't know either. Empress Dowager Lu said indifferently. But from the looks of it, she seems to be enduring some kind of torture. I don't know if she's injured or something. Let's wait for a while and wait for the enchantment imprint to be placed around here. Yes, Empress Dowager. Sun Gonghu said. More and more experts from the kingdom of Ziyu rushed over, surrounding Sun Xinyan's sleeping quarters so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. The array master had already begun to prepare the materials. Everyone also sacrificed their magic treasures, as if they were facing a great enemy. Master, shall we go down the barrier directly? The Empress Dowager has ordered it. Attack or defend the realm. We can't take this person for now. Let's first guard the realm and trap him. We'll act according to the situation. All right. The array master received the order and immediately set up the boundary. There were quite a few array masteress, and a defensive barrier took less than half an incense stick of time to set up. Everything was going on in an orderly manner, and people were becoming more and more confident. After all, this was the imperial palace of the kingdom of Ziyu. Even the Spirit Sage could not be impudent. Activate the barrier. A cry rang out. The array master immediately took out a stone filled with energy and placed it at the source of the barrier. When the stone entered the source, The entire formation seemed to have been reborn and began to activate. However, after the first barrier appeared, Su Qing, who was still holding on to her delicate body and trembling, was immediately like a lioness that had been awakened. She suddenly raised her empty eyes and looked at the barrier that enveloped the entire sleeping quarters. Then, she moved her finger. Crash, countless scarlet clouds floated over from the sky. The clouds and mist gathered and covered the sky, leaving only a scarlet-red color in the entire world. This is bad. Empress Dowager Lu's face changed. Disperse. All of you disperse. Everyone felt that something was wrong. How could they dare to stay around the sleeping quarters? They quickly retreated. The scarlet clouds in the sky gathered into a large ball, rippling through the world, and then directly fell to the ground, like a shocking iron rock falling from the sky. When the people from all four sides saw this scene, they were all shocked. The sixth grade of the three souls had escaped from their shells. Dawn! A loud sound rang out, so loud that it could tear apart the sky. The entire purple moon immortal island suddenly sank a bit, and the surrounding seawater was also shocked into a towering wave. The air pressure shattered all the buildings around Sun Xianyin's chamber, sending people flying and crushing things into smithereens. Dust and fog filled the air. Empress Dowager Lu and the rest were forced back a few thousand meters by the sudden descent of the iron cloud. However, when everyone regained their senses and looked over, all that was reflected in their eyes was a pile of ruins, a palace in ruins. All the buildings were destroyed, leaving only Sun Xianyin's chamber unscathed. Chapter 868. How could this be? Empress Dowager Lu muttered. The scene in front of her had already exceeded her imagination. All the buildings here were made of special materials, and every building was covered with enchantments. They would not be easily destroyed, but in front of Su Qing'er, they were as weak as paper. If Sun Xianyin's sleeping quarters were not by Su Qing'er's side, it would probably be crushed by the iron cloud that was as hard as steel. Seeing this, Empress Dowager Lu already understood that the current Su Qing'er was not someone that the kingdom of Ziyu could defeat by relying on manpower. Even if the army of the kingdom of Ziyu came, it would only add blood and be useless, Empress Dowager. I'm afraid that this person's cultivation is not someone who has just entered the spirit sage realm. A person whispered worriedly. Perhaps even higher. This was because everyone had dodged in time, and Su Qing'er's target was the defensive enchantment that the array masters had just set up. Otherwise, none of them would have been able to escape. In the past, Su Qing'er did not have any good conditions to cultivate. With her physique, she could leap 1,000 miles with just a little help, but this kind of body had its limits. Quick, go get the congealing cloud sword. Empress Dowager Lu growled. Empress Dowager, really? Are we really going to use the national treasure? A minister was worried. This person's strength is beyond our imagination. If we continue to hide it at this time, then we will not only lose our national treasure, but also the imperial might of the entire kingdom of Ziyu. Empress Dowager Lu clenched her teeth. She knew that she would not be able to take down Su Qing'er in a short period of time. Although the power of the kingdom of Z, you could still fight with the existence of the spirit sage. After this battle, the palace would most likely be gone, and this was not what Empress Dowager Lu wanted to see. The Empress Dowager gave the order, and no one dared to disobey. Immediately, someone left to retrieve the congealing cloud sword with the Empress Dowager's order. Just then, two figures suddenly walked out from the entrance of Sun Xianyin's sleeping quarters. Both of them were staggering, as if they were extremely weak. Looks, when Empress Dowager Lu saw one of them, she was shocked. These two people were Sun Xianyin and Shangwan Meiyang. At the moment, Shangwan Meiyang's face was extremely pale. Her pink hair was messily draped over her shoulders. Sun Xianyin supported her as they walked out step by step, and when they saw the surrounding scene, the two girls' faces were filled with shock. Grand, Empress Dowager? Sun Xianyin was the first to notice the person in the distance and cried out involuntarily. Beauty, what's going on? Empress Dowager Lu asked. This, Sun Xianyin hesitated. If it was said that they did not see Sun Xianyin before, Everyone would have thought that she was also a victim. Now that they saw that Sun Xiangyin was safe and sound and was together with Shangwan Meiyang, no one would believe that this Su Qing'er had nothing to do with her. Beauty, is this person from the divine cloud immortal palace? Seeing that Sun Xiangyin did not speak, Empress Dowager Lu continued. Yes. Sun Xiangyin lowered her head. Then why is she doing this? Why did you destroy my palace? Is the divine cloud immortal palace looking down on my kingdom of Ziyu? Empress Dowager Lu asked again, her voice raised by an octave and her brows furrowed. That's not the case. Please don't misunderstand, Empress Dowager. Sun Xiangyin hurriedly said, Qing'er made a mistake in her cultivation. That's why she's like this. She didn't mean it. Please forgive her, Empress Dowager. It's not intentional. Empress Dowager Lu coldly snorted again and again. She has already killed dozens of my immortal country experts and destroyed my palace. If she did not mean it, once this matter spreads out, where would my immortal country's face be? Furthermore, how could a spirit sage be someone from the divine cloud immortal palace? Does the divine cloud immortal palace have the ability to teach the existence of the spirit sage? Empress Dowager, I see that this person's physique is special and her talent is extraordinary. Furthermore, the techniques she uses are quite similar to my celestial country's national techniques. Beauty, speak honestly. Was the forbidden area destroyed by this person? This person, did he secretly learn my celestial country's national techniques? She, Sun Xiangyin stammered, but she did not know how to reply to the Empress Dowager. However, the Empress Dowager did not give her a chance to explain and directly interrupted her. Beauty, you don't need to say any more. I see that you are so close to her, but she did not attack you. I believe that your relationship with her is not shallow. Now, I order you to quickly subdue this person and hand him over to us. Do you hear me? Sun Xiangyin was in a dilemma. How could the current Su Qing'er be subdued by her? If you do not obey, then you will no longer have anything to do with my kingdom of Ziyu. Empress Dowager Lu growled. The pale Shangwan Meiyang turned her head and looked at Sun Xiangyin. She could see the difficulty and pain in her senior sister's eyes. But I can't do that. However, not long after, Sun Xiangyin opened her mouth and shouted, Beauty, this matter has nothing to do with junior sister and Qing'er in the first place. All of this was caused by Sun Di. If he did not fake the edict to take Qing'er and junior sister away, how could junior sister and the others escape? How could junior sister be injured? How did Qing'er become like this? Sun Xiangyin raised her head and shouted boldly, How dare you? Empress Dowager Lu flew into a rage. Sun Xiangyin, have you forgotten your surname? Your surname is Sun. You are a member of the Sun family. You actually speak up for outsiders. This matter has nothing to do with Qing'er and junior sister. Empress Dowager, Qing'er's current situation is very dangerous, and the current situation of the kingdom of Ziyu is also very dangerous. I must protect Qing'er's mind right now. Otherwise, the consequences will be unimaginable. Unimaginable? So what? Since she has offended my royal might, she must pay the price. Empress Dowager Lu stared at Sun Xiangyin and asked angrily, Xiangyin, let me ask you, where is Sun Di? Sun Di, Sun Xiangyin's mouth froze. Seeing that, Empress Dowager Lu was immediately enraged. Was Sun Di killed by her? Sun Xiangyin had a straightforward personality and had never lied to anyone in her life. Now that Empress Dowager Lu was questioning her, she didn't know how to reply. Seeing her granddaughter in such a state, how could a smart person like Empress Dowager Lu not guess what was going on? At this moment, her hatred for Su Qing'er had reached its peak, and she couldn't wait to kill Su Qing'er right now. At this moment, a sharp intent gushed over from behind. The people of the Violet Moon Immortal Empire all turned their heads over, only to see a group of soldiers clad in armor flying over in an orderly fashion. The person in the lead was a white-robed man with white hair and robes, exuding a carefree aura. At this moment, he was holding a sword sheath in his hands, and that sharp intent was coming from within the sword sheath. The sword of congealing cloud. Someone cried out in alarm. The person holding the sword sheath was the sword slave of the sword of congealing cloud. Empress Dowager, you actually took out the sword of congealing cloud? Sun Xiangyan turned pale with fright. If I don't use this sword, how can I kill this person? Empress Dowager, Lu said angrily. We cannot lose the royal family style. This person must be executed. With that, she pointed at Su Qing and shouted, Sword slave, use my king's sword and kill this person. Yes, sir. The white-haired man in white robes shouted loudly. He raised his sword and rushed forward. His body was like a white meteor as he slashed toward them. At the same time, there was also a supreme sword intent. When Shangwan Mei Yang felt the sword intent, she immediately started to tremble. At that moment, she was already severely injured and had just been pulled back from the gates of hell by Sun Xiangyan. How could she still be able to withstand this power? Before the sword slave could even get close, she spat out a mouthful of blood with a wah sound. In almost an instant, Su Qing'er, who was still curled up, suddenly raised his head, his pair of empty eyes staring straight at the sword slave that was rushing towards him. This is bad. Sun Xiangyan's face changed. Although Su Qing'er's consciousness was gradually being drowned by the surging energy in her body, her subconscious was still there. Shangwan Mei Yang was her master, and now that she was injured by the sword pressure, her subconscious exploded, and she was afraid that she would no longer be able to defend herself. Sure enough, Su Qing'er immediately raised her palm and grabbed towards the sword slave in the air. At this moment, a terrifying suction force was released from her seemingly delicate little hand, causing the sword servant's body to collide with her palm involuntarily. Sword shakes the four seas. The sword slave anxiously shouted. He raised his sword and pierced towards his palm. The sword body of the congealed cloud sword immediately shot out 4 cloud dragons, circling around the sharp blade and attacking Su Qing'er. Clang, clang, clang. The cloud dragon was like iron, releasing a dull sound of iron, but when it approached Su Qing'er, it was blocked by the scarlet clouds around her body. Bang! The sword slave was also sucked over and smashed fiercely onto the scarlet cloud. As soon as he got close to the scarlet cloud immediately reacted and started to squirm, turning into a big mouth that swallowed him whole. Flying swallow, chasing the moon. The sword slave roared again. The congealed cloud sword in his hand suddenly disappeared. At the same time, even more dense purple clouds appeared around Su Qing. So. A large number of sword images shot out from the purple clouds in the blink of an eye. There were hundreds of thousands of them. All of them aimed at Su Qing'er and slashed crazily. A series of ding, ding, dang, dang, dang sound could be heard. The terrifying sword pressure and sharp sword intent could not dissipate. And very quickly, Su Qing'er was engulfed by the sword images. Such an astonishing sword technique was simply unimaginable by ordinary people. The scarlet clouds that were mixed in the purple clouds also slowly weakened. Seeing this scene, the people of the Purple Moon Immortal Kingdom heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that the Celestial Kingdom's national treasure was indeed effective against the spirit profound saint. Whoosh! Suddenly, the sky darkened. Everyone was shocked and immediately looked around. A large number of dark clouds had gathered in the sky, and the stars were flickering behind the clouds. However, what was especially eye-catching was that behind the clouds, there was an extremely bright moon. This is the power to control the stars in the sky. Empress Dowager Lu's face changed. As if she had sensed something, she clenched her teeth and roared, "Go! Everyone, go and kill this person quickly!" Chapter 869. The Empress Dowager seemed to have sensed something, and no one dared to be careless. At this moment, they took out all of their trump cards and attacked Su Qing'er together. The chaotic and dazzling spells collided nonstop, but every time they got close to Su Qing'er, they would instantly vanish in a thin air and be completely isolated by the clouds. He couldn't get in at all, just by relying on the power of the Spirit Emperor. It was impossible to injure Su Qing'er in the slightest. Her current strength was too strong. Whiz! Just then, a ray of blue light suddenly descended from the sky. The light shot downwards and shone onto Su Qing'er's body, completely fusing with her body. Everyone widened their eyes and looked at this scene in astonishment. The aura of the light was extremely dense, almost filling the air, causing the hair on the surrounding people to stand on end. When the light shone down, the sword slave's congealed cloud sword was unable to break through the light. The current Su Qing'er was like an invincible existence. What is this? Cries of alarm came from all directions. Empress Dowager Lu shouted at the top of her lungs, "Attack the top of the light! Quick! Attack the pivot door there! She is obtaining the power of the moon god. Hurry up and attack." The power of the moon god? When everyone heard this, they were both alarmed and confused. What kind of power was this? The sword slave did not dare to be negligent, and immediately followed the Empress Dowager's instructions, attacking the area above the light. A series of sword images collided with it, producing crackling sounds. The light did indeed tremble, but it did not shatter. "No, Empress Dowager, we can't break it easily," one of them shouted while panting. "Go!" Empress Dowager Lu suddenly gave the order. "Go!" Everyone thought they had heard wrongly. "Go!" Didn't Empress Dowager Lu always want to kill Su Qing'er? Why did he leave so decisively at this time? "Get everyone to leave the palace immediately. Quick! Immediately send someone to the Heavens Palace and invite the old ancestor over. This person is no longer someone we can deal with. Let's go." With that, the Empress Dowager ignored the ministers and flew out. Seeing that, the people immediately retreated in panic. But at that moment, the light had already dissipated, and Su Qing'er, who was inside, once again appeared in everyone's line of sight. However, the Qing'er at this moment was completely different from the Qing'er just now. At this moment, maybe you should not look at her with the eyes of a mortal. She was dressed in a light blue fluorescent gauze with a coiled tail and a moon ring on her head. Her long hair had already turned light blue, and her skin was snow white to the extreme. There was a fluorescent crescent moon imprint on her forehead, and her entire body emitted a lustrous radiance. She was simply like a goddess. However, the most eye-catching thing was the Kai Ling that was circling around her. The ribbon seemed to have come alive. It revolved quickly around Qing'er, releasing a lustrous light. The head of the ribbon was actually facing the person who was running, and a cold, killing intent exploded out from the ribbon. "Senior sister, what's going on?" Shangguan Mei Yang stared blankly at the current Su Qing'er and only regained her senses after a long while, and anxiously turned to ask Sun Xiangyan. "This seems to be the power of the moon god." Sun Xiangyan looked at Su Qing'er absent-mindedly. At this moment, Qing'er has already been submerged by that enormous energy. She is completely controlled by that energy, and only a little bit of her subconscious is left to support her. This energy is the energy of the ancestors of the immortal country. Qing'er must have learned my immortal country's national technique, the moon cloud magic kung fu. This move is one of the moves of the moon cloud magic kung fu, the power of the moon god. Using the profound energy in one's body to build a bridge with the power of the moon, obtaining the power of the moon, causing one's own strength to increase explosively. The current Qing, I no longer know what realm she is at. Then what should we do? Isn't she going to destroy this divine cloud immortal palace? Shangguan Mei Yang said in shock. "I'm afraid not." Sun Xiangyan's face turned pale as she said softly, "What do you mean?" Shangguan Mei Yang felt that something was wrong. However, Sun Xiangyan said solemnly, "Father is seriously ill. The matters of the immortal country are already under the control of the Empress Dowager. Now that Qing'er is here to cause trouble, the immortal country is helpless. The Empress Dowager will definitely not let this matter rest so easily. If my guess is not wrong, the Empress Dowager will probably go and invite someone to subdue Qin." Shangguan Mei Yang's heart skipped a beat. Who else? Who else could it be? Of course it's an immortal. Sun Xiangyan closed her eyes. Hearing that, Shangguan Mei Yang became silent. Immortal? Spirit profound immortal? To the people of the ultimate martial world, that was an illusory existence. We must bring Qing'er away now. Otherwise, if the immortals come, even if they can't kill her, they will definitely be able to see through her divine body. Once the matter of Qing'er's divine body is exposed, I'm afraid that the 10,000 worlds will be in chaos. At that time, the immortals will come out in full force. Everything will be irreversible. Empress Dowager Lu and the rest did not see through Su Qing'er's special physique, but Empress Dowager Lu had already sensed her uniqueness. If there really was an immortal here, he would not be able to hide it. But Qing'er is currently unconscious. Even if we go over, we will only be courting death. Shangguan Meiyong secretly bit her lips. Even Empress Dowager Lu and the rest could not get close to Su Qing'er. So how could they get close? Not to mention taking it away. Whiz! Just then, the colorful silk that was circling around Su Qing'er moved. It was like a divine dragon that was searching for the heavens. It swayed quickly and swept towards the fleeing immortal country. When the colorful silk neared these people, it suddenly exploded. Like a blooming flower, it split into 5 parts and swept towards those people. Before those people could even escape, they were tightly wrapped up by the colorful silk. After that, the colorful silk wrapped around them a few times, and those people were directly pulled down from the sky. However, in the process of pulling, the colorful silk loosened, and the place where it was originally wrapped had already overflowed with a large amount of sand, and no one could be seen anymore. Instant kill. These spirit cultivator-s of the immortal country, they were all killed in an instant. Seeing this, Empress Dowager Lu was so scared that her face turned pale. What kind of power was this? She immediately took out her magic treasure and transformed into a resplendent light. She suddenly disappeared into the distance and walked extremely fast. However, once she left, the rest of them were not so lucky. How could they have such a powerful magic treasure? Sun Gonghu stared at the young lady who was like a god. At the moment, he was trembling violently. He understood that with his own methods, it was impossible for him to escape from the young lady's attack. Right now, the only thing that could save his life was a powerful magic treasure. However, he was not the Empress Dowager. How could he enjoy such a treasure? Suddenly, his gaze swept across Sun Xiangyin, who was in the distance. Sun Xiangyin and that Shangguan Meiyong are so close to this woman, but she did not attack these 2 people. It seems like this woman still cares about these 2 women. Although Sun Xiangyin and I occasionally don't see eye to eye, she is still a member of the Sun family, so she definitely won't leave me in the lurch. Thinking about it, Sun Gonghu immediately turned around and flew towards Sun Xiangyin. As soon as he moved, the colored damask on the other side immediately reacted. The colored damask exploded and divided into dozens of fine long threads. One of them attacked Sun Gonghu in a perfectly straight line. Sun Gonghu was so scared that all his hair stood on end, and he almost fell from the sky. He knew that he could not escape, but the only hope he could place on was Sun Xiangyin, who was far away. Sun Xiangyin, save me! Sun Gonghu shouted at the top of his lungs. If Su Qing'er didn't hurt Sun Xiangyin would definitely listen to her. Sun Gonghu thought. Hearing that, Sun Xiangyin looked at Sun Gonghu. Her face was filled with hesitation, but it only lasted for a while before she rushed over. Sun Gonghu had placed his hopes on Sun Xiangyin, but it was actually a huge mistake because the current Sun Xiangyin did not know how to deal with Su Qing'er, much less save him from her hands. Sure enough, before Sun Gonghu could even get close to Sun Xiangyin, he was entangled by the colorful silk. No, Sun Xiangyin shouted. However, in the next second, the colorful silk twitched, and Sun Gonghu's body shattered. Along with his soul, it was torn into 8 pieces. Sun Xiangyin could only see the sky full of blood and flesh falling in front of her. She was stunned. After Kai Ling killed Sun Gonghu, he retracted it, only to see Su Qing suddenly leaping up and rushing towards the experts of the immortal country. Stop! Sun Xiangyin could not hold it in any longer. With a tap of her feet, she stepped into the sky and blocked Su Qing'er's path. The moment she appeared in front of Su Qing'er, Kai Ling moved, but Kai Ling did not hold on for long and quickly returned to Su Qing'er's side. She shifted her empty eyes away and continued to look at the spirit cultivator experts in the distance. Chasing with all her might, Kai Ling swung wildly. In the end, these existences were unable to escape Su Qing'er's methods and were all killed. Sun Xiangyin stared blankly at all of this, as if her brain had stopped thinking. Looking at the blood that filled the sky, a sense of guilt rose in her heart. Senior sister, Shangguan Meiyang, flew over, extended out her weak hand, and grabbed onto her hand tightly. Junior sister, if it wasn't for me, I'm afraid these people from the immortal country wouldn't have died so tragically, right? Sun Xiangyin turned her head and looked at her with her empty and dejected eyes. Senior sister, please don't say that. The world is unpredictable, and we don't want this to happen. What we should do now is to subdue Qing'er and bring her away as soon as possible. Otherwise, there will be uncontrollable consequences for the immortal country and Qing'er. Shangguan Meiyang said, while enduring the pain. She was also rather anxious, and her speed of speaking had increased by quite a bit. However, her voice was still extremely weak, and her small face was covered in perspiration. But, with just our strength, how can we bring Qing'er away? Sun Xiangyin clutched her head and said in pain. Nothing is impossible. Shangguan Meiyang took a deep breath, then leaped up and flew towards Su Qing'er. She was severely injured, and even though she was flying, her petite body was still trembling, as if she would fall from the sky at any time. Chapter 870. Qi. An ear-piercing sound rang out in the pitch-black yet spacious ancient tomb. Su Yun's arm swayed and retracted the lotus star sword that was thrown out. The shadow guard in front of him had already turned into black smoke, flying into the air and disappearing. You have completed the trial I gave you. Now, you will receive my inheritance. A statue behind the shadow guard spoke out. Following that, the armor on its body and other magic treasure all fell off, floated up, and neatly arranged themselves in front of Su Yun. Thank you, Senior. Su Yun cupped his fists, then walked over and kept all the treasures in his bag. If there were pills, they would all be peerless medicines that could increase one's cultivation and strength. If there were magic treasure Su Yun would not be so happy, because most of the magic treasure were custom-made for the great demons, and there were many magic treasure that Su Yun could not use. After rummaging around, he took out all the pills and stuffed them into his mouth one by one to digest them. Cultivating in the ancient tomb was not the best place, but Su Yun had no choice but to do it because the statues were getting stronger and stronger, and their shadow guards were getting weirder and weirder. If he did not have the support of strong power, it was impossible to defeat them. Su Yun was already stretched thin after defeating a shadow guard. He had to stay where he was to recover. After 7 days of effort, Su Yun had only defeated 5 great demonic statues, but his own cultivation and experience had also soared, and he had benefited greatly. People always grew up in the midst of trials and tribulations. Those who went smoothly might not necessarily obtain more than those who went through trials and tribulations. Suddenly, a burst of qi shot up from below Su Yun's heart, straight to the head. Immediately after, his skin and flesh seemed to have been roasted over a fire, blazing hot. Was he going to break through again? Su Yun took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and quietly felt the changes in his body, guiding the energy that suddenly shot out from his body to wander around his body. The inside of his body was like a unique world. This energy was like the blazing sun after the dark night, giving the entire world a brand new look. Everything came to life. All living things revived. All living things emerged. Qi meridian, blood vessels, tendons, skin, flesh, bones. At this time, everything was like a separate existence. They had their own energy. They had their own strength. They were like Su Yun's servants. They were only born for Su Yun, supporting him in everything. 9th stage of the Spirit Emperor. Su Yun slowly opened his eyes and took a deep breath. After resting for about half a day, he got up and walked towards the next statue. The increase in strength and the mastery of the profound technique made the current Su Yun extremely powerful. However, these shadow guards were not ordinary people. Their various strange and dazzling techniques were simply dazzling. Dangerous things often happened, but fortunately, they were all daunting but not dangerous, and they passed through safely. As long as he was defeated by a shadow guard, Su Yun would not be able to continue forward and would lose the qualifications to inherit the great demon. He would have to leave the ancient tomb and would not be able to enter the ancient tomb again. In this life, he would not be fated to inherit the great demon's inheritance. Time passed bit by bit, and Su Yun also challenged them one by one. There were many great demons, and they were all strong and weak. There were many treasures, but this did not mean that Su Yun could digest all of them. The treasures were still good, and those that he did not need could only be temporarily stored or directly not taken, placed in the ancient tomb, and left for future generations. All right, young demon lord, I think this should be your end. Either you go back immediately, or you can only fail here. Su Yun tidied himself up and continued to walk forward. Just then, a voice suddenly came out. The moment the voice came out, he was stunned. He looked around, but he couldn't see anything. Who? Su Yun shouted. What is it? Can't you see me? Oh, I forgot. My magic treasure is invisible. After leaving behind my clothes, my statue will no longer be visible. The voice came out again. An invisible statue? Su Yun was startled. If you can't see it, then you can't see it. A powerful spirit cultivator can no longer rely on the naked eye to distinguish and recognize the enemy. What you need is the mind's eye. Young demon lord, are you prepared to accept my test? Or have you decided to give up and leave the ancient tomb? The voice sounded again. It made people feel strange. Even if there was a voice, Su Yun could not determine the other party's location from the voice. It was as if the voice came from outside Su Yun's ears. Interesting. The corner of Su Yun's mouth raised, one hand holding onto the death sword, the other holding onto the Lotus Star sword. He laughed. Senior, let's begin. Let me see what's so special about Senior's treasure. What an arrogant young man. The great demon was a little angry and shouted. Then watch carefully. As soon as his voice fell, a large number of black dots the size of stones condensed in the surrounding void. These black dots appeared and quickly condensed into the shape of a shadow guard. However, this shadow guard only appeared for less than a second before suddenly disappearing. Invisible? With a tap of his feet, Su Yun leaped into the air, releasing the death sword and the Lotus Star sword. With a slight movement of his fingers, the sword sheath behind him immediately spewed out a large number of subordinate swords. Thousands of sharp swords arranged themselves around his body, forming a gigantic sword barrier that tightly enveloped his entire body. The flying sword was like armor protecting his body. Then it descended from the sky and began to walk around. The flying sword on the outside pointed its blade outwards. Although it was invisible, the other party was still there. As long as he touched it, he would know the other party's location. Su Yun sped up and circled around the empty surroundings. However, he did not find any trace of the other party. The ancient tomb was only so big, and the challenge range of a single statue was limited. Normally, the shadow guards of this statue would not easily approach the other statues, in case they activated the energy left behind by the great demons in the other statues. But if there was no one here, then where would the other party be? Could it be that the shadow guard was also extremely fast? If that was the case, then it would be troublesome. An existence that was already invisible, coupled with extreme speed, to an ordinary person, this was simply an illusory opponent. Using the sword as a shield to protect yourself? But do you think that's enough? The great demon's voice sounded again. Following that, Su Yun heard a strange sound of bones rubbing against each other. Following that, a large amount of devil chi appeared from all directions. The devil chi actually seeped through the barrier formed by the flying swords and directly attacked Su Yun, who was inside. When they passed through, they once again condensed into the shape of a shadow guard and then disappeared. He came in. A cold light flashed past Su Yun's eyes. With a move of his finger, all the flying swords in all directions suddenly flew towards him and suddenly pierced towards him. The great demon was clearly startled. Poochie 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 poochie, a strange sound rang out. Looking over, the shadow guard had actually been pierced through the heart by several flying swords. So that's how it is. The reason you set up the sword wall was to lure my shadow guard to attack you? In such a narrow place, it would be easy to force a shadow guard out. Senior, you're thinking too much. Su Yun did not plan to do this at all. It was just that the shadow guard had run over on his own, and he had casually forced it out. Everything was a coincidence, but the coincidence had become the most effective method. Although the shadow guard's heart had been pierced by the swords, it did not dissipate. Its body quickly disintegrated, turning into many tiny black particles, and quickly disappeared from Su Yun's field of vision. Seeing that, Su Yun immediately moved away. At the same time, he once again circled the flying sword around his body and compressed the space inside. Do you still want to use this move? Fighting requires a myriad of changes. If you don't change at all, you'll lose the initiative and you won't be far from defeat. The voice was filled with a trace of disdain, but Su Yun did not care about it and continued to move. This time, the shadow guard did not rush into the sword wall, but surrounded it and attacked, lingering around Su Yun. From time to time, a pitch-black chi sword would shoot out from the void, following the cracks in the sword wall, striking towards Su Yun, who was inside. Although the power of the chi sword was not strong, it was very crafty. Even if there was a small gap, it could still pass through. Su Yun took a deep breath, stopped in his original position, and actually closed his eyes. The great demon looked at him strangely, but did not make a sound. After the chi sword bombarded for a while, Su Yun finally opened his eyes. He extended his hand, and with a slight movement of his fingers, in an instant, the countless subordinate swords all pointed outwards, like exploding pear blossoms flying in all directions. Poochie, 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 the entire area was filled with sharp swords. The shadow guard had nowhere to hide, and was directly stabbed out by the two swords. Su Yun's eyes flashed with hostility. His body explosively moved and rushed towards the shadow guard. Although the shadow guard was struck by the sword again, and its body became extremely dim, its movements and abilities were not affected much. Its body disintegrated once again, and then dispersed in all directions, about to disappear. It was formless and shadowless, and its speed was extremely fast. Although this shadow guard attack was not strong, it was unknown how difficult it was to subdue it. When a person reached the limit in any aspect, the power they displayed was universally shocking, regardless of whether it was strength or speed. But Su Yun already had a plan. Just as the shadow guard disappeared, he suddenly rushed over, his speed instantly exploding to the limit, causing the air to tremble. He did not know what had happened, but he saw that Su Yun was already standing at the place where the shadow guard had disappeared. Crash! The divine power of the Imperial Battle Robe was activated. The shadow guard that had disappeared had actually been forcefully gathered together. Su Yun stared straight at the shadow guard. He suddenly extended his hand out, grabbed its neck, and pressed it to the ground, his palm releasing endless profound chi, suppressing it fiercely. So at the same time, the surrounding death swords crazily flew towards it. In an instant, the shadow guard was pierced into a hornet's nest, and its body instantly dimmed. It wanted to resist, pushing its strength to the limit, but it was unable to break free from Su Yun's suppression. It was firmly pressed to the ground, unable to move, as though it was being suppressed by the five-finger mountain. What? The great demon let out a cry of alarm. The shadow guard was reduced to ashes by the sharp sword. Chapter 871. After the shadow guards were destroyed, there was a brief silence around the great demonic statue. After a long time, a voice came out. "You have successfully passed my test." That was the voice of the great demon. "Thank you for letting me win." Su Yun kept his swords. "You can obtain my inheritance. I will impart my fleeting shadow technique to you. I hope you can take care of yourself." With that said, a large number of grayish-black stones suddenly appeared around Su Yun. These stones were even more numerous and denser, and after they appeared, they quickly gathered towards the center. These stones seemed to have a life of their own. Avoiding Su Yun and passing by his side, they quickly gathered in front of him. Very quickly, a statue of about 1. 8 meters appeared in front of him. The drifting shadow art is my famous profound technique. It uses the profound energy as the meridians, circulating the entire body, and at the same time invading the opponent, seeping into their eyes and invading their consciousness, thus achieving the effect of invisibility. Oh, that's it. Doesn't that mean that apart from my opponents, everyone else can see my existence? Su Yun was stunned. If it was like this, then wouldn't this so-called gliding shadow technique be inferior to even the most basic concealment technique? How could it be so simple? The great demonic statue snorted and said, "This profound technique of mine is a supreme profound technique that has been specially researched through the creation of heaven and earth. Once it is used, it will come and go without a trace, and its movements will be as elusive as a ghost or a god. Ordinary people will not be able to detect it, and the so-called profound chi will invade the enemy's eyes and consciousness, but it will only achieve a kind of assimilation effect. Once the assimilation is successful, then, in the other party's heart, you will forever be a person who will not exist, formless, shadowless, spiritless, soulless. Even those who have already stepped onto the path of immortality, in their hearts, you are already someone who does not exist." Great Tao of immortality? Su Yun's face was startled. What kind of supreme great Tao was that? Would such a person also eat this kind of profound technique? But assimilation is not easy. In order to assimilate, you must be thoroughly familiar with the shifting shadow art, to the point where you can use it freely. And once you completely grasp the shifting shadow art, young demon lord, you will have the right to challenge any existence. The demon continued. When he said that, Su Yun's heart palpitated. Would he be qualified to challenge any existence? Spirit sage? Spirit profound? Immortal? Could it be that by grasping the gliding shadow technique, one would be able to contend with these terrifying existences? Su Yun felt like he was in a dream. Suddenly, 2 beams of black light shot out from the statue's eyes. Within the black light, there were white words flashing. His eyes burned as he stared at the black light, memorizing all the words in his heart. At this moment, Su Yun was staring fixedly. His body was stiff and motionless. Compared to that, he was more like a statue. The black light that shot out from the statue's eyes lasted for about 20 breaths of time before it stopped. However, Su Yun did not regain his senses for a long time. Oh, he does have some talent. A sound of approval came from the statue, as if it had sensed something. After a long while, Su Yun finally regained his senses. He lowered his head and thought for a moment, then stood up, cupped his fists, and said, "Senior's flickering shadow art is indeed exquisite, although this junior has also learned a lot of profound technique. But compared to Senior's technique, most of them are nothing. Most of the profound technique. Oh, you mean to say you still have a small portion of the profound technique that can compare to my flickering shadow art?" The great demonic statue released an unconvinced voice. "Tell me, I want to see what profound technique can compare to my flickering shadow art." Su Yun was a little stunned. He had just said it unintentionally, but he did not expect the great demon to be so competitive. But since he had already spoken, if Su Yun did not say it, he would make the other party angry. He opened his mouth. "When I first entered the ancient tomb, this junior was fortunate enough to obtain the inheritance of a few great demons from the true devil sect. One of the great demons passed down the supreme mental cultivation method, yin-yang manifestation art, to this junior. Although this junior does not know which of the 2 techniques is better, this junior believes that the mental cultivation method profound technique is not bad either." Oh, yin-yang manifestation art. The great demon muttered to himself, but did not say a word. This technique is definitely extraordinary. The mental cultivation method covers the universe. The chi swallows the heaven and earth, and within the profoundness, there is also an endless grandeur. It is definitely not a profound technique that mortals can touch. Su Yun touching it today is truly a blessing of 3 lifetimes. But although this technique is profound, this junior cannot slander the techniques passed down by other seniors. Therefore, in this junior's heart, there is no strongest profound technique. Hearing that, The great demon was silent for a moment, then laughed. Although what you said is a little hypocritical, I like your personality. Then, in your heart, there must be the strongest profound technique, right? The strongest? Su Yun was startled, then laughed bitterly and shook his head. The strongest is not the profound technique, but my own perseverance. As long as I persevere, I can become the strongest in anything. That's right. The great demon agreed. However, as it spoke, its statue had already begun to decay. Su Yun knew that everything that the great demon had left behind in the ancient tomb had already begun to disappear. He had also completed his mission, and the rest could only be left to the people in the future. All right, young demon lord. Just as the statue was about to dissipate, the voice came out again, although it was not as loud and clear as before. What other advice does Senior have? Let me ask you, when you controlled so many flying swords before, it did not seem like an ordinary imperial sword technique. What exactly is the imperial sword technique that you learned? Limitless sword arts. Su Yun whispered seriously. Limitless sword arts? The great demon let out a shocked voice. Senior has heard of this technique? How can I not hear of the killing technique? The voice gradually faded away, and the statue of the great demon gradually decayed. Everything gradually disappeared and gradually dissipated. Killing technique? Why does Senior say that? What? Su Yun immediately shouted, but the great demon had already disappeared and was unable to answer Su Yun's doubts. Seeing that, Su Yun was stunned for a while. His mind was filled with confusion. Killing technique? Sword techniques were most likely meant to kill people. Not to mention sword techniques, even the ultimate goal of this fleeting shadow art was to kill people. But why did the great demon say that? Forget it. Let's not think about it anymore. Let's take a look at the profoundness of the fleeting shadow art. After thinking about it, Su Yun sat down cross-legged and started to recall the mantra that he had seen before. The sky was filled with colorful silk, but now it had turned blood red. The smell of blood in the air did not dissipate, and the ground was littered with corpses. The terrifying scene made one's heart tremble. Su Qing'er stood quietly in the air, the colorful silk surrounding her body, and waves of baleful aura rippled in the air. At this moment, in front of Su Qing'er stood an exquisite figure. She was dressed in light red clothes. Her exquisite face was somewhat pale, and her long pink hair was in a mess. Although she was extremely weak, she still opened her arms and stared at the young girl in front of her with a serious expression and said with a weak and hurried voice, "Qing'er, stop. You can't continue like this, or else you'll personally bury yourself." However, the young girl turned a deaf ear to her and continued to fly forward, as if she was ignoring the pink girl and planned to directly jump over and head back. In the distance, there were still people from the immortal country flying around in panic. Their colorful silk danced wildly, as if they had locked onto their target and were ready to attack at any time. But just then, Shangwan Meiyang took the lead and rushed to the front of the colorful silk. "If you want to kill me again, then kill me." Shangwan Meiyang took a deep breath and closed her eyes. Her attitude was firm, and she had made up her mind. "You are a member of my divine cloud immortal palace. You have killed those people, and have made my immortal palace and ZU immortal kingdom enemies. But this is not your fault. It is all my fault. And now that you have become like this, it is also because of my incompetence as your master. If you kill me, I have nothing to say." These words were actually very helpless, but Shangwan Meiyang had no other choice. If she did not care about Su Qing'er, the consequences would be extremely severe, and at that time, not only the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace would be implicated, but even more people would be implicated. However, she had no way to stop Su Qing'er, who was extremely powerful. She was afraid that she would need at least a spirit sage expert to be able to subdue Su Qing'er. But just as Shangwan Meiyang got close, she was wrapped up by the colorful silk and thrown to the side. There was no power to resist at all. Shangwan Meiyang's weak body immediately flew out. Seeing that, Sun Xiangyin's face changed. She immediately leaped up and caught Shangwan Meiyang in the air. "Junior sister, are you all right?" "I'm fine. Senior sister. Shangguan Meiyang stabilized her body, clenched her teeth, broke free from Sun Xiangyin, and rushed towards Su Qing'er again. But Su Qing'er was too fast. She waved the colorful silk and rushed towards the experts of the immortal country. The colorful silk was like a dragon as it swept towards them. One of them was entangled and was instantly torn into minced meat. Bang! A sound rang out. Shangguan Meiyang saw that the colorful silk had exploded again, turning into hundreds of them, pouncing towards the crowd, and immediately shouted, "No!" Her thin and weak body rushed to the center of the terrifying colorful silk and closed her eyes. Her actions were shocking. Junior sister. Sun Xiangyin screamed at the top of her lungs. Sun Xiangyin's actions were simply courting death. Furthermore, the current Su Qing'er was only relying on a little bit of subconscious self-control, and this self-control ability was so low that it could be ignored. In this kind of situation, how could she stop her attacks? This was a complete and utter suicide. Sun Xiangyin knew why Shangguan Meiyang did this, because once she did this, not only would the hatred between the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace and the Kingdom of Ziyu be resolved, she would also be able to make Su Qing'er feel no guilt. Once she died, the Kingdom of Ziyu would have nothing to say, and she would have done her duty as a master. However, her strength was too weak to stop all of this. Moreover, this method was too stupid. Chapter 872. Kai Ling brought along an extremely terrifying aura, ferociously rushing forward, straight towards Shangguan Meiyang. Her delicate body was about to be entangled by the terrifying Kai Ling in an instant. However, at this time, Kai Ling stopped. Shangguan Meiyang had already closed her eyes. She did not dare look at all of this. She had to stop all of this, but she did not have enough power and could only rely on this extremely stupid method. But what made people excited was Su Qing'er stopped. Just as her ribbon was about to touch Shangguan Meiyang, it stopped abruptly. A terrifying, baleful aura swayed down from the ribbon, blowing all over her body, but it did not touch her at all. At the last moment, it stopped. Shangguan Meiyang closed her eyes tightly, but after waiting for a long time, she still could not feel the terrifying qi. A trace of doubt surfaced in her heart, and she finally mustered the courage to open her eyes. But the moment she opened her eyes, what she saw was Qing'er's extremely pale face. "Master, hurry, let's go." An extremely weak voice came out from her dry, cherry lips. Shin'er, the power of the moon god on her body quickly dissipated. The colorful silk broke, turning into sand, and the colorful clothes on her body also dissipated. She returned to her original state, and like a kite with its string cut, she fell from the sky and fainted. "Qing'er!" Shangguan Meiyang shouted at the top of her lungs. Ignoring her own injuries, she rushed over with all her might and hugged Su Qing'er tightly, and the two girls fell down together. Sun Xiangyin naturally would not sit still. She immediately activated the profound qi, dragged the two of them, and slowly put them down. At least they were safe. "Junior sister, are you all right?" Sun Xiangyin shouted nervously. "I'm fine." "Senior sister." Shangguan Meiyang slowly opened her eyes, looking at Su Qing'er, who was in her embrace. A trace of worry flashed past her eyes. "It's just that Although Qing'er's consciousness was submerged by the energy, she did not hurt me at the last moment. It can be seen that she was not completely devoured by the energy. According to common sense, this is impossible. His consciousness has been submerged, and he has almost lost all ability to think. His body will only be controlled by this energy until it retreats. Just now, Qing'er's energy was still strong and abundant, so for a while, it definitely won't be like this. Sun Xiangyin revealed a surprised expression. "Senior sister, now is not the time to talk about this. We have to leave quickly," Shangguan Meiyang said weakly. Empress Dowager Lu is definitely not an ordinary person. Although she is not a match for Qing'er, that does not mean that Qing'er is invincible. Once Empress Dowager Lu invites an expert to subdue Qing'er, Qing'er's situation will be dangerous. You're right. Furthermore, Qing'er also needs time to rest and recuperate. She is currently unconscious, and I guess that at the most critical moment, her spirit released its potential power and temporarily forced back the energies devouring. But she did not protect her own consciousness, and instead forced herself to fall into a deep sleep. If she wakes up, I'm afraid she will still be like that. And if the energy does not dissipate, she will never be able to return to Su Qing'er's appearance. Junior sister, the situation here is complicated. You and I should return to the Immortal Palace and look for Master first. All right. Shangwan Mei Yang nodded her head. She wanted to help Qing'er up, but she did not have the strength. Fortunately, Sun Xiangyan had a lot of tricks up her sleeves. She took out an unknown magic treasure and threw it towards Su Qing. It was a sparkling and translucent veil that was extremely beautiful. It fluttered over and wrapped around Qing'er, causing her body to immediately become as light as a veil. Sun Xiangyan immediately grabbed onto Qing'er and quickly left the place with Shangwan Meiyang. Due to the chaos that Su Qing'er had caused, most of the people in the palace had evacuated. Regardless of whether it was the palace maids or the guards, there were not many left. Shangwan Meiyang's body was still very weak, and the situation was not looking good. Sun Xiangyan's condition was not good either, adding that they had to escape with Su Qing'er. The two of them were not fast. Senior sister, this time, I'll let you down. If I didn't bring Qing'er here, you wouldn't have. Junior sister, don't blame yourself. Things have developed to this point, and it is already beyond our expectations, much less our control. If we can save Qing'er, we can still prevent this situation from worsening, so don't blame yourself too much now. What we can do is try our best to make up for it. Sun Xiangyan said in a low voice. Hearing that, Shangwan Meiyang nodded. In fact, she could see the pain in her senior sister's heart. Sun Gonghu had been killed by Qing'er, and Empress Dowager Lu had been threatened with her life by Qing'er. The current Su Qing'er had long since become the enemy of the kingdom of Ziyu, and Sun Xiangyan had probably been implicated as well. However, Sun Xiangyan did not say anything, and still chose to help Shangwan Meiyang and Su Qing. The two of them brought Su Qing'er and ran for a while. Sun Xiangyan asked, Junior sister, can you contact Master? I can't. Shangwan Meiyang shook her head. My order badge has already been confiscated. If I could contact my mother, I would have informed her in prison. Since that's the case, let's go outside the Immortal Island and head towards the Realm Gate. Maybe we can meet Master. It's too dangerous to stay on the Immortal Island. If I'm not wrong, the reinforcements that the Empress Dowager has summoned will start chasing after Qing. Let's quickly evacuate. In the dim, ancient tomb, a figure was shuttling through the ice-cold and terrifying statue. This figure flickered between light and darkness, appearing and disappearing like a ghost. This was Su Yun under the fleeting shadow art. The fleeting shadow art was not a simple invisibility technique. It was a combination of invisibility and illusion techniques. Its true strength lay in changing for the sake of change, from concealment to concealment, not only deceiving people's eyes, but in a greater sense, deceiving people's thoughts and souls. A simple invisibility technique was to communicate with the surrounding scenery to achieve the goal of concealing one's body. The essence of the fleeting shadow art was to deceive the thoughts and consciousness of all the existences in the surroundings, assimilating with their consciousness and completely erasing their own existence in their hearts. In other words, when a person was successfully blinded by the fleeting shadow art, there was already a problem with his consciousness. He would not even know that there was a person called Su Yun in this world, nor would he know who he was fighting against. Their chaotic thoughts caused them to be confused and hesitant, and, at this moment, it was the moment of weakness. And the most terrifying thing was that the fleeting shadow art ignored one's cultivation level. In other words, even a person who had reached the peak of perfection would not be able to escape from the fleeting shadow art. Of course, the conditions for activating the fleeting shadow art were extremely harsh and required continuous cultivation and practice. However, Su Yun, who had mastered the limitless sword art, divine wind sword technique, yin-yang manifestation art, and fleeting shadow art, was more than enough to deal with the tests of the great demons. With the protection of the imperial battle robe, the tests set by the great demons could no longer stop him. As time passed, the statues of the great demons rotted one by one. Not only had his cultivation increased explosively, his strength had increased explosively, his speed had increased explosively, his profound chi had increased explosively, and even his lifespan had increased to an extremely terrifying level. The current him was only a step away from the spirit sage, and any situation would allow him to break through in advance. With the support of the Imperial Battle Robe, the Dragon Abyss Pearl, and the Supreme Sect Lord's power, his cultivation speed had increased by 1,000 miles. Now that he had obtained the inheritance of the 100 devils, he was like a dragon that had entered the sea and an eagle that had soared into the sky. He no longer knew how many great demon statues he had challenged, but he saw that the statues on the ground were getting fewer and fewer, and he had obtained more and more things. He directly swallowed the pills into his stomach, and he no longer had any scruples. The feeling of his strength increasing explosively was simply intoxicating. There were not many great demons left. Su-Yin took a deep breath. His gaze swept around. After obtaining the benefits of these great demons, stepping into the Spirit Sage level should not be a problem. Time was tight here. The large amount of pills he had swallowed previously had not been completely digested. Once he left the ancient tomb, he would immediately go in a closed-door cultivation. His cultivation would probably increase by a large amount. Just then, Su-Yun's gaze suddenly swept past something. He anxiously looked over, only to see that not far away from the empty space, there was a dark red passageway. The passageway was emitting a strong energy aura. Upon closer inspection, it seemed to be a place with an energy array. Seeing that, Su-Yun was ecstatic and immediately walked over. When he got close, he raised his hand, released a bit of profound chi, and offered it to the blood-red road. The profound chi flew out, and the blood-red road immediately shot out a large amount of red light. The surging energy was like the winter sun, wrapping around Su-Yun warmly. What an abundance of energy, this path. Who did it? He crouched down and caressed the bright red road, only to discover that there was a long square formation engraved at the bottom of the road, a square array formation. How proficient did one have to be in array formations to be able to set it up? Array formations were mostly circular, and square arrays were not conducive to the flow of energy. They would also have some obstructions to the array formation itself, and would not be able to unleash its full power. Why would they set up such a formation? Su-Yin thought for a moment, then gathered his courage and walked onto the blood-red path. The facts proved that his guess was not wrong. The long path was filled with energy, profound chi was abundant. It was definitely a good place to cultivate. He scanned his surroundings and quickly sat down cross-legged to meditate and cultivate. The moment he sat down, the red light of the great Tao immediately erupted. As though it had been activated, all of the energy was released, and all of it was absorbed by Su-Yun. He was like a black hole, starting to absorb everything in the blessed land. This kind of energy was unbelievably pure, as if it was the essence that someone had deliberately left behind. Too wonderful. Gradually, a circle of white light suddenly erupted from his body. His hair, eyebrows, and eyes all released a golden light, and a small sun and a small moon suddenly appeared above his head. When the small sun and moon appeared, they immediately circled around his head, and an endless mysterious power rippled back and forth. Promotion. Spirit Sage. Chapter 873. This energy was very majestic, and it was an extremely pure devil chi. It seemed to be consciously drilling into Su-Yun's body, as though it was specially prepared for the people who came here to cultivate. All of the meridians in Su-Yun's body were opened up by this top-quality devil chi. This kind of pleasure was unprecedented, and the speed at which his cultivation was increasing was extremely clear. However, what was even clearer than this was the blood-red ground beneath him. Following the advancement to Spirit Sage, all aspects of his abilities increased once again, especially the profound chi. At this moment, the spirit core was completely golden in color. Not only was it able to produce an even denser, profound qi than before, the hardness of the spirit core had also exceeded Su Yun's imagination. The qi meridian expanded by a circle. The spirit core frantically produced profound qi. In the blink of an eye, the amount of profound qi in Su Yun's body had increased by 100 times. The difference in strength between the spirit emperor and the spirit sage was already very clear from the storage of the profound qi. The sun and moon were like wheels revolving around him. The universe seemed to be formed above his head, and all the phenomena of nature revolved around him. This was a step from a mortal to a saint. It was a step beyond the ordinary. It was the most basic step to touch the unreachable immortal God. At this moment, Su Yun felt that his eyes and heart were about to open up. Previously, when he looked at the world, it was as if he was looking through a crack, but now he had jumped out of the crack and was looking down at everything from the ninth heaven. What kind of realm was this? What kind of feeling was this? After about 8 hours, the sun and moon gradually sank into the top of his head, as if they had fused with him. The white light around his body exploded out, and he flew into the distance and disappeared. He slowly opened his eyes. With this closing and opening, it was as if 100 lifetimes had passed and 10,000 years had flown by. He raised his hand and clenched it. His fingers moved slightly, but there was an aura that could shake the earth and mountains. This was a change. Su Yun took a deep breath and looked around. The realm of the spirit sage was not something he could easily comprehend. This kind of change was bestowed by the power of heaven and earth, just like the normal growth of a person. In the process of growth, there were still many things to learn, and it was impossible for a newly advanced spirit sage to defeat a spirit sage who knew his own strength like the back of his hand. Taking down the nameplate of the ultimate martial world, it showed that he was already in the spirit sage realm. His fighting strength had actually increased by a few 100,000, and his current fighting strength was 590,000, and his ranking had increased even more crazily, entering into the top 500,000. Wait a minute, within 500,000? Could it be that there were still more than 500,000 spirit sage existences in the 10,000 realms? Su Yun frowned. What kind of fortuitous encounter was needed to step into this realm? How could there be so many people in the universe? But was this famous brand's statistics accurate? What is its statistical category? It was only based on the myriad heavens and realms, right? The immortal God world probably didn't count them, right? The immortal was probably not just at the spirit sage realm. At this moment, the ground was already gray and black. All the energy inside had been absorbed by Su Yun, like an incense stick that had burned out. Gradually, the pure energy became thin. Su Yun opened his eyes and looked forward, only to see that the second half of the road was still very bright. He immediately stood up and walked over. However, just as he stepped onto the second half of the blood-red road, a bone-chilling cold suddenly rose up, instantly pervading Su Yun's entire body. He could not help but shiver. Feeling that there was something in front of him, he immediately pulled out the death sword and stared forward with a burning gaze. Demonic qi, blood qi? It was as if there were two strange auras mixed together and were drifting in this direction. Kacha at the same time, a weak sound floated up, sounding especially ear-piercing in this quiet and empty place. Su Yun's nerves tensed up. "Who?" he shouted in a low voice. However, there was no reply from the pitch-black place. There was only the sound of kacha-kacha. It sounded like footsteps, but it was extremely dull. This voice. Su Yun suddenly had a flash of light in his mind. As if he had guessed something, he immediately looked back, only to see that there were only a few statues left. He was currently at the back of the empty space. Previously, the statues had all warned him not to provoke the statue at the back. Could it be that this voice... Kacha! At this time, the strange sound had stopped. Su Yun looked over and saw that at the end of the long blood-red path, there was a completely gray statue. The statue was not wearing any armor, nor did it carry any magic treasure. Everything about it was a stone sculpture sword, stone sculpture clothes, stone sculpture flesh and bones, stone sculpture 4 limbs and head. Stone sculpture? The great demonic statue? This guy's body was even cleaner than Su Yun's face. What benefits could he get from defeating such a guy? It looked at Su Yun quietly, its eyes blood red. Its face was exceptionally handsome and heroic. Its long stone hair was scattered on its shoulders. Although it was just a stone sculpture, one could imagine that the original owner should be a very suave and handsome devil cultivator. However, what made Su Yun's heart jump was that the other statues could not move. So why did this statue walk over by itself? Was it a living person? The other statues were all standing still, but it was actually able to walk in front of Su Yun. Are you ready? The statue raised the stone sword in its hand and pointed the tip of the sword at the ground. Its entire body emitted a baleful aura. Senior, in 10 breaths of time, I will attack. You have 2 choices. One is to escape, and the other is to die. Get ready. The stone statue spoke again. However, when these words came out, Su Yun was extremely shocked. Escape? Die? What did that mean? Could it be that if he didn't escape, he would die? How the F***CK could this be? Previously, the great devil had shown mercy, but from this guy's tone, why did it seem like he wanted to kill him? 5 breaths. At this moment, the stone sculpture made another sound. He didn't give her any time to think. Without any time to think, Su Yun held onto the death sword tightly and activated the profound chi. The surging energy gathered on the imperial battle robe on his body. 4 breaths. The stone sculpture continued to speak, its eyes flashing with a terrifying red light. 3 breaths. Su Yun's eyes became cold. 2 breaths. Crash. A large amount of black gas suddenly appeared in front of the stone sculpture. The black gas quickly condensed into the shape of a person and quickly approached the stone sculpture. The stone sculpture opened its arms, and the man formed from the black gas also opened his arms. The stone sculpture and the black gas overlapped each other. In the blink of an eye, Su Yun felt a burst of surging aura rushing towards him. The black gas overlapped with the stone sculpture, and a large amount of black smoke appeared around the stone sculpture. On its back, a terrifying and gigantic black wing extended out. The wings were like the wings of a bat. The 10 pitch-black scythe-like demon bone structures were covered in a thin film of devil chi. It was extremely terrifying. 1 breath. The stone sculpture seemed to have completed its preparations. Its gaze was fixed on Su Yun, and it released a deep voice that sounded like an accent. In an instant, a gigantic black curtain appeared around his body. The curtain was square and extremely huge, directly enveloping Su Yun and him. When the curtain appeared, Su Yun realized that he and the stone sculpture were in a strange world. The world was pitch black, with nothing else. The black ground, the black sky, and the ancient tomb could no longer be seen, nor could any other statues be seen. Clang! An ear-piercing sound rang in his ears. Following that, he saw the stone sculpture rushing over, its wings flapping. Its speed was so fast that no one could react. When Su Yun regained his senses, the stone sword had already fiercely smashed into his chest. Dong! Su Yun flew out. This speed was so fast that it made one's hair stand on end. Dong! Su Yun flew back nearly 1,000 meters and crashed into the curtain at the edge. He coughed twice and immediately stood up. The divine power of the Imperial Battle Robe had already been activated. If not for the Imperial Battle Robe, Su Yun's chest would have been blasted open with a huge hole. Whiz! Just as he was thinking, a strong gust of wind blew past his ears again. Killing intent filled the air, and that existence actually rushed over again. Su Yun's nerves tensed up. He pushed his speed to the limit, turned back, and like a phantom, he quickly dodged. At the same time, with a flip of his left hand, the yin-yang manifestation art was activated, and his mind rippled out in all directions. Unexpectedly, the stone sculpture suddenly swung its arm, pointing the sword at the ground. It fiercely swung the sky and roared, 5 devils, illusory sky. Boom! A loud sound exploded in Su Yun's mind. His body involuntarily trembled twice. He staggered a few steps back and felt a burst of dizziness. The mental ripple that was sweeping over was directly broken. What? The yin-yang manifestation art was actually broken by him? Su Yun's eyes were wide open. He could not believe what he was seeing. This sharp intent was so strong that it made one's hair stand on end, as if the air was filled with sword blades. 10 demons, God's slaughter. The stone sculpture leaped high into the air, holding onto its sword with both hands. It slashed down toward Su Yun. When the stone sculpture was about to land on the ground, 10 gigantic illusions of the demon gods suddenly appeared behind it. Each of these illusions of the demon gods was 10,000 meters tall, like pillars that supported the sky. Each of the illusions of the demon gods extended their hands, using their hands as swords, and attacked Su Yun. The 10 demon gods attacked at the same time. This move could destroy the heavens and the earth. Compared to this stone sculpture, the great demonic statues from before were simply child's play. Su Yun's eyes were incomparably cold. His expression had also become unprecedentedly focused. He stared straight at the falling 10-handed sword. As well as the stone sculpture's sword, he took a step forward, holding onto the death sword with one hand. He flew straight towards the sky. Holy Spirit shield. A furious roar erupted from his mouth. Clang! Divine power erupted, and with him, as the center, a 7-colored divine shield appeared. Dong! The demon god sword and the stone sculpture's sword slashed onto the death sword's body at the same time. A surging heaven-defying power followed the death sword and spread throughout Su Yun's body, then spread to the ground. The black world created by the stone sculpture started to tremble crazily. Sand and stones flew in all directions, as if it was the end of the world. The strength of the two of them was astonishing. If this battle was in the ancient tomb, this strike would have turned the ancient tomb into dust. Chapter 874. The stone sword and the death sword were in a stalemate. The other party's strength was so terrifying that it almost wanted to break Su Yun and cut him in half. However, Su Yun would not give him the chance. With a wave of his left hand, the black blade appeared in his palm like a magic trick. His left arm swayed slightly 12 times, and his strength was instantly raised. Then, like a gust of wind, it smashed towards the stone statue's shoulder. Dong! The stone statue's power was all concentrated on the stone sword. It did not expect Su Yun to still have the strength to launch this attack. The black blade slashed onto his shoulder, and the stone statue immediately flew out, falling not far away. Su Yun loosened his sword, held onto the blade and sword, and pressed forward again. In fact, when he blocked the sword just now, he did not use Su Yun's own strength, but the power of the Holy Spirit shield. The Holy Spirit shield could reflect everything, and when the stone statue smashed down, the power had already been reflected back. However, what surprised Su Yun was that the stone statue had actually used brute force to forcefully cancel out the power that was reflected from Su Yun's body. From this alone, one could tell that the stone statue's strength was simply heaven-defying. It was likely that it could split mountains and split seas with its bare hands. Strong strength meant that the body was strong. This kind of person would usually be very weak in terms of spirit, but why was he able to break through the yin-yang manifestation art so easily? Su Yun held onto his blade and sword, the black blade pressing down on the death sword's body. He channeled all of his strength and slashed at the same time. However, boom! The black blade smashed the death sword onto the ground. It had missed. Su Yun's face tensed up. He suddenly turned around, only to see that the stone statue had unknowingly appeared behind him. This speed, it was so much faster than him. Su Yun's face darkened. Dong! The stone statue raised its foot and kicked him in the chest again. The surging force caused the air to ripple as it flew out. He somersaulted in the air, his blade and sword piercing into the ground. He was dragged backwards, his blade and sword dragging out 2 long ravines. It was too fast. Furthermore, his strength was astonishing. Adding on his extraordinary strength, how could he defeat such an existence? There was almost no place where he was weak. His spirit body, and willpower could all be said to be at the peak. Was this stone statue just a wisp of the great demon's consciousness? If that was the case, then what kind of strength did the great demon have? I'm afraid he could be compared to Chang'u and Enemo back then, right? The stone statue raised the sword in its hand, its blood-red eyes filled with killing intent that could not be dispersed. It stared straight at Su Yun, and its body emitted waves of soul-shaking sounds. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Su Yun's head was buzzing in pain. In my name, I summon thy body. At this time, the stone statue gave a low roar, and a black chain appeared on the stone sword in his hand. One end of the chain wrapped around the sword, and the other end was connected to the earth. He suddenly swung the stone sword. Crash! The iron chain was pulled, and the ground was directly torn apart by the iron chain. Then it started to shake, and the crack expanded. A large amount of sand and stones fell, and soon a terrifying abyss was pulled out. The iron chain was like a fishing line hanging in the abyss, and no one knew where it was connected to Wu. At this moment, a sorrowful whimper emerged from the abyss. Did I summon something? Su Yun leaped backwards and raised his arms, causing a few bolts of lightning to descend around him. Dong! 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 All of the devil bone giants were summoned, and they stood behind him. At this time, two huge pitch-black hands reached out from the abyss. These two hands were emitting surging devil flames, and they were extremely terrifying. They supported the ground on both sides, and then exerted force, forcefully opening the abyss. Then a horrifying head popped out from inside. At this time, there was an existence with horns on its head and 4 lantern-sized, blood-red eyes. Its body was covered in black flesh, and its head was covered in white fur. Its body was like a star, but it was filled with a terrifying devil chi and power aura. Its entire being was like a demon god from hell. As soon as it stepped out of the abyss and onto the ground, it was mighty and domineering, giving off an invincible feeling. Especially the aura it emitted, it made people tremble, and they didn't dare to have any thoughts of resisting. At this moment, the other end of the chain on the sword in the stone statue's hand was tied to its nose like a horse's rope. The stone sculpture leaped up and landed on top of the demon god's head. It waved its sword a few times, and the iron chain swayed. The demon god moved, releasing a deafening roar, and walked towards Su Yun step by step. The size of the demon god was almost the same as the devil bone giant. Su Yun did not hold back. He waved his hand, and the devil bone giant rushed forward. His profound chi controlled the devil bone giant, and the giant split into 2 groups. One group rushed towards the demon god, intending to restrain it, while the other group went to find the stone sculpture. However, when the devil bone giant approached, the demon god was the first to move. It twisted its body, raised its fist, and suddenly swung it forward. Its thick arm, which didn't seem to be too long, actually flew forward like a rubber band, directly smashing into the body of the devil bone giant at the front. Dong! The giant flew out like a ball, smashing into the giant behind it. The 2 giants rolled into a ball, looking extremely miserable. The profound chi in Su Yun's body trembled, but he was not frightened by this, and ordered the other 2 giants that were close to the demon god to pounce forward. Dong! Another demon god was sent flying, but the demon god at the side had an opportunity. Its mountainous fist fiercely smashed towards the demon god's head. Clang! The fist landed on the ground and was stopped by the stone sculpture above his head. Although the giant stone sculpture looked like an ant, the strength of the stone sculpture was not inferior to the giant in the slightest. However, when the stone sculpture resisted, the power to control the demon god was reduced by a bit. The remaining devil bone giant swarmed forward, and their huge fists rained down on the demon god. The stone sculpture and the demon god were immediately submerged by the giant's iron fists. The surging power was like a shocking wave that drowned them. From the looks of it, Su Yun seemed to have the upper hand, but he understood that the stone sculpture was not that simple. It was impossible for the devil bone giant to do anything to them. So he had to first exhaust the stone sculpture's profound chi, and then think of a way to break it in one fell swoop. However, the demon god, who was being crazily attacked by the devil bone giant, seemed to be angry. It suddenly roared, and with its body as the center, a circle of terrifying blood-red ripples burst out. These ripples fiercely rippled, directly sending the surrounding devil bone giant flying. Su Yun was stunned. The profound chi in his body trembled nonstop. Raising his head to look at the demon god, he saw that the muscles on its body had swollen up, and its skin had turned from black to blood red. A large number of blood vessels and tendons had burst out, and the white hair on its head had exploded. Panting heavily, it roared and rushed toward Su Yun. The ground was crushed by it, and the air was shaken by it. With an unstoppable and invincible aura, it rushed towards Su Yun in a daze. The devil bone giant immediately stood up, wanting to block. But at this moment, the demon god was like a tank. Any giant that approached would be knocked away by it, and any profound technique that struck its body would not be able to leave any scars. At this moment, it was an invincible existence. The stone sculpture held onto its sword, its blood-red eyes staring straight at Su Yun. Although this was an ancient tomb, and this was merely a trial for the juniors by the seniors of the True Devil sect, in the eyes of the stone sculpture, this was not a trial, but a life and death battle. It did not show any mercy, nor would it show any mercy. In this battle, someone had to die in order to determine the victor. Otherwise, it would definitely not stop. This was the Tao of the stone sculpture, and it was also the Tao that it wanted to teach Su Yun. At this moment, Su Yun finally understood this logic. In the heart of the stone sculpture, true victory was built on corpses. He didn't want to be that cold corpse. Since he didn't want to, he should take action. He should be like him, fighting to the death, giving up everything, and fighting with everything he had. He stared coldly at the demon god that was rushing over. He did not move an inch, and his expression became extremely sinister. The profound chi in his body was like a storm as it burst out in all directions. He did not put up any defenses, nor did he dodge. Could it be that he was going to give up? Howl! Right at this moment, an even more melodious and vast roar suddenly came from above Su Yun. The stone sculpture raised its head to look. Before it could react, it saw an incomparably huge hand stretch down from the pitch-black sky, directly blocking in front of the demon god. Dawn! When the demon god collided with the big hand exerted force, and it also exerted force. When the two forces clashed, it directly created a large amount of ripples that blew in all directions, causing the surrounding sand and stones to turn into ashes. The profound chi that was floating in the air was shaken to the point that it was undulating, and the stone sculpture on top of the demon god's head retreated a few steps, while Su Yun also staggered, finding it difficult to stand firmly. The demon god forcefully pushed the great god forward for an entire 1,000 meters. The 5 fingers of the great god's hand were inserted into the soil, dragging out 5 ravines. The great god's hand was trembling incessantly, and it was obvious that it had used up all its strength. In the end, the great god's hand still stopped less than a meter in front of Su Yun. The demon god had also finally used up all its strength and stopped. Only then did the stone sculpture stabilize its body and look up into the sky. Only then did it realize that the devil bone giantess had already disappeared, and in their place was an even larger and more terrifying existence. Devil bone spirit. Compared to the devil bone spirit, the demon god's body was like a cat or dog. Bada! The devil bone spirit grabbed the demon god's body and lifted it up. Then, it fiercely slammed it onto the ground. Dawn! The ground shattered, and the demon god was smashed into the ground. It was a complete suppression of size. Roar! The demon god was enraged once again, and the white hair on its head exploded even higher. It forcefully pried open the devil bone spirit's fingers, stepped on its huge arm, and rushed towards its head. When it got close to its head, it reached out and grabbed its neck, twisting it crazily, intending to remove its head. However, The devil bone spirit was not the devil bone giant. Its strength was even more terrifying, and its aura was even more astonishing. It stretched out its hand, grabbed the demon god, and threw it far away. Whiz! The demon god flew into the distance like a kite with its string cut. Seeing that, Su Yun leaped up and landed on top of the devil bone spirit's head, then urged the spirit to quickly rush towards the demon god and the stone sculpture. Chapter 875. The terrifying and huge iron fist was like a meteorite falling from the sky, rubbing against the air as it fiercely descended. When the fist landed, it even emitted a red light, ignited with flames, and dragged out a long tail. Donk! The intense sound could shatter a person's eardrums. The fist smashed into the body of the demon god, smashing its body into the pitch-black ground. The force shattered the ground around it. The ground was cut down again and again, sinking continuously. Roar! The demon god was enraged and let out an earth-shattering roar. It stretched out its hands and grabbed the incomparably huge fist. It did its best to support itself and push the fist forward. Its strength was not weak, and the devil bone spirit's huge and thick arms were in a stalemate. However, at this moment, the stone sculpture on the demon god's body seemed to have lost its patience. Its blood-red eyes stared at Su Yun, and suddenly raised the stone sword in its hand and pulled it towards the air. Crash! The chains on the stone sword tore off the demon god's nose, and then the demon god's sturdy body instantly turned into ashes, disappearing without a trace. It turned out that the chains were the connection between the stone sculpture and the demon god. Without the chains, the power of the stone sculpture could not be transmitted to the demon god. The devil bone spirit lost its resistance, and the big fist followed the momentum, crashing into the stone sculpture. However, the stone sculpture did not panic at all. It raised its hand and turned it into a palm to block the big fist. Donk! The fist trembled. The stone sculpture forcefully withstood the attack with brute force. However, this was not the end. He moved his arm and actually grabbed the devil bone giant's hand. With a sudden shake, he lifted the huge giant up and threw it into the distance. This scene truly shocked Su Yun. How is this possible? To be able to lift the devil bone spirit and throw it out. Even the seemingly terrifying demon god could not do anything to the devil bone spirit. How could it do it? What cultivation level was it at? The stone sculpture shook off the devil bone spirit and once again cast a spell. He raised the stone sword high up, the tip of the sword pointing towards the sky, and shouted a series of awkward, demonic words. A large amount of red lightning flashed in the pitch-black sky like poisonous snakes moving about in the black sky. Blood prison, heavenly prison. The stone sculpture roared and pointed its stone sword at the giant. The red lightning swept over, densely packed like raindrops, falling down, instantly enveloping Su Yun and the devil bone spirit. When the lightning approached Su Yun, it immediately turned into gray smoke and disappeared, but when it approached the devil bone spirit, it was not spared. It was too huge, and there was almost no time to dodge. Dong! 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 A series of loud noises rang out. It was as if the devil bone spirit was entangled by many wild snakes, and its body immediately turned bright red. However, when the red lightning struck its body, it did not leave many scars on its body. Instead, it scattered all the profound qi around its body. Seeing that, Su Yun's face became gloomy. Regardless of whether it was Su Yun's physical body or the devil bone spirit's body, it was actually very difficult to destroy. He believed that the other party had also noticed this point. However, although Su Yun was not attacked by the lightning, the devil bone spirit could not avoid it. If Su Yun wanted to control the devil bone spirit, he had to continuously transport the profound qi as a source of energy. Now that the devil bone spirit was being crazily attacked by the opponent, in the end, it was still Su Yun's profound qi that was being dispersed. In the blink of an eye, the profound qi around the devil bone spirit disappeared. Its huge body also lost its kinetic energy and stood there motionless. Facing such an opponent, The devil bone spirit left behind by Changgu and Inemo could not help him very well, so he had no choice but to put it away. The puppets and summoned creatures of both sides had been withdrawn, and the stone sculpture descended from the sky. Holding the stone sword, it walked towards Su Yun step by step. At this point, there was no way out. He could only face it head-on. Su Yun's face was sinister as he walked forward step by step. Both of their eyes were blood-red, and their killing intent was dense. The stone sculpture was different from the great demonic statue from before. Once the battle began, it did not make a sound. It only cared about killing and killing the opponent. Approaching Su Yun, it raised the stone sword high up in the air, and a low roar came out from its mouth. "Come, Moon Demon Slash!" The stone sword shot out a ray of black light and flew into the sky. A huge crescent moon immediately appeared in the sky. The crescent moon flashed a few times, and then it fell down, smashing towards Su Yun. However, Su Yun did not even look at it. He took a few steps forward and fiercely waved the death sword at the stone sculpture. Devil Windbreak. Roar. 1,000 demonic tigers charged forward. However, the stone sculpture did not move. The huge crescent moon approached Su Yun, then turned into smoke and disappeared. 1,000 leopards smashed onto the stone sculpture's body, but they were unable to inflict any injuries on him. In a battle of this level, if neither side's attacks could destroy the other's defense, it would become a stalemate. Although Su Yun seemed to be able to match up to his opponent, he knew in his heart that the stone sculpture's cultivation was far above his own, and the amount of profound qi was also much greater than his own. If he continued to be in a stalemate, it would be extremely disadvantageous for him. He had to finish the battle quickly, or else this small advantage would be gone. He took a deep breath and continued to rush towards the stone sculpture. There was only one way to get rid of this stalemate. That was to get close to the stone sculpture. As Su Yun rushed over, the stone sculpture also reacted. He thrusted his sword towards the ground, causing a large amount of blood to gush out from the sword, forming a river around him. 7 Ultimate Devil Kill. The stone sculpture shouted again. The blood river instantly dried up, transforming into 7 blood-red devil cultivators, all of them holding blood swords. Like afterimages, they rushed towards Su Yun from 7 directions. Su Yun casually waved his hand, and a large number of flying swords shot out from the sword sheath, sweeping towards the 7 devil cultivators, while he himself continued to smash into the stone sculpture, moving forward without changing his direction. Seeing that the opponent was being overbearing, the stone sculpture did not escape anymore. He turned around, and the stone sword spun, releasing a terrifying devil qi to meet Su Yun. In the process of waving the stone sword, it was as if a flower had blossomed. The pitch-black, profound qi turned into several slender iron chains. All of them opened up, waiting for Su Yun to pounce on them. So as Su Yun approached, the iron chains immediately bound him. The stone sculpture's eyes released a blood light and immediately exploded. Holding onto the blood sword, he slashed towards Su Yun's head. This was no longer a test. This was a life and death battle. Su Yun used the divine power of the Imperial Battle Robe, wanting to purify the iron chain, but to no avail. The iron chain was not something formed from the profound qi, but a real thing. It was a magic treasure, and the divine power could not purify the magic treasure. The outcome was about to be revealed. Then, in that moment of life and death, suddenly, a cold light shot out from Su Yun's fingertip. It passed through the stone sculpture and exploded above it. Before the stone sculpture's sharp sword could slash down, its body was suddenly grabbed by a huge eagle claw. Demon Spirit Hawk. The stone sculpture was grabbed by the demon eagle and immediately turned around to slash at the divine eagle's leg. Puffed. The demonic shadow's body, which was incomparably hard to Su Yun, was cut apart like paper. The demon spirit hawk's cultivation was strong and incomparable. Back then, when Su Yun fought with it, it had only used the strength of the spirit sage. It was an existence that surpassed the spirit sage, but it had just changed owners, and the meridian connection between its cultivation and strength had been reset. It needed time to slowly recover, and in less than 3 years, it would definitely be able to recover to its peak. However, the sudden appearance of the demon spirit hawk had created an extremely good condition for Su Yun. He leaped up and rushed towards the stone sculpture. This time, he did not use his sword to kill the stone sculpture. Instead, he directly extended his hand and grabbed towards the stone sculpture. The stone sculpture's eyes were filled with killing intent. Its body actually twisted forcefully, breaking the eagle's claws. Holding onto the stone sword, it slashed towards Su Yun without a care for anything else. The demon eagle cried out and immediately flew away. But at this time, Su Yun was no longer defending. He forcefully withstood the stone sculpture's attack and suddenly grabbed his neck with one hand. The stone sword fiercely slashed onto his body, the terrifying power almost shattering his internal organs. But Su Yun did not care at all. He roused his strength and forcefully pressed the stone sculpture down from the sky. Dong! The two figures landed on the ground, causing the ground to shake violently. Just as the stone sculpture was about to continue raising its sword, it saw Su Yun stabbing the death sword onto the hilt of the stone sword, the sword tip piercing into the soil. Following that, the divine power of the imperial battle robe was activated. Like a demon's mouth, it swallowed the stone sculpture. Voila! In the blink of an eye, the power of the stone statue weakened. But he still did not give up. Using all his strength, the stone sword was slowly lifted up. The death sword was rather strenuous. The pitch-black sword body also started to tremble. The stone statue let out a heaven-shaking roar. The power in his body poured out crazily, as if in the next second, he was going to break free from Su Yun's suppression. This was the first time he had met such an opponent, to be able to resist the corrosion of the divine power of the imperial battle robe. But at this moment, an evil spirit suddenly emerged from the death sword's blade. The evil spirit let out a mournful cry and fiercely clawed at the stone statue's head. Dong! When a stone sculpture was attacked, its strength relaxed, and the profound chi that it had restrained was immediately uncontrollably devoured by the divine power of the imperial battle robe. In the blink of an eye, not a single trace of profound strength remained in his body. The stone sculpture had lost its profound strength and only had brute force left. But Su Yun had obtained the incomparably pure, profound chi from the stone sculpture and had already recovered to its original state. However, the stone sculpture was still unwilling to give up. Relying on its brute force, it wanted to stand up again and attack Su Yun. At this time, it had no chance of winning. But why was it so persistent? Suddenly, Su Yun understood. This stone sculpture was fighting with him with the determination to not stop until he died. If he did not completely shatter it, then it would continue to fight until he died. Thinking about it, Su Yun's fanaticism that had just faded surfaced once again. He held onto the death sword and slashed at the stone sculpture without a care for anything else. The death sword carried a destructive power and completely covered it, tearing at its hard body and piercing through its indestructible chest. Kacha! Kacha! Slowly, the stone sculpture cracked open, and cracks covered its entire body. That seemingly ferocious power also gradually cooled down. It was like a machine that had lost its power, spinning slower and slower. Not long after, it was completely broken down by Su Yun. Chapter 876. After breaking down the stone sculpture, Su Yun turned around and laid on the ground, panting with all his might. This battle was many times more tiring than the previous battle with the great demons. If he did not use all of his trump cards, he would undoubtedly lose. But fortunately, the imperial battle robe was a divine object that could help him challenge those of a higher level. If he did not have the imperial battle robe, even if he relied on the fleeting shadow art, he might not be able to take down the stone sculpture. The stone sculpture shattered, and a large amount of black smoke leaked out. The black smoke floated in the air and finally converged into a ball, forming a human figure in front of the stone sculpture. Seeing that, Su Yun immediately stood up, holding onto his sword. He stared at the black shadow. This seemed to be the black shadow that had fused into the stone sculpture. The black shadow floated there for a while before finally landing on the ground. Two blood-red slits appeared on his pitch-black head, and he finally opened his eyes. The empty but terrifying red eyes were like two wells filled with blood, as if they wanted to drag Su Yun into it and seal him forever. Young Demon Lord. A voice came from the black shadow. Who are you? Su Yun bellowed. Whoever the statue is, I am. The black shadow said indifferently. Hearing that, Su Yun immediately understood the identity of the black shadow. The black shadow continued. Young Demon Lord, I acknowledge your strength. To be able to defeat me without being injured in the slightest, maybe you can take an attack from my original body. As a promise, I will pass on the Devil's Soul to you. With the Devil's Soul, I hope that you can bring glory to the true Devil sect, uphold the thoughts in your heart, and not walk the path of fate. As the black shadow spoke, his body was suddenly covered in blood, as if a fishing net had enveloped his body. After a while, the fishing net suddenly split open, and an even smaller black shadow appeared. Seeing the black shadow appear, it immediately stared at Su Yun and rushed over. Its speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, it crashed into Su Yun's body and disappeared. Su Yun was shocked. He immediately touched left and right, but he could no longer feel the existence of the black shadow. He anxiously looked inside his body, but was surprised to find that there was an additional round black ball in his body. This black ball was located at the lower right side of his heart, sticking to his internal organs and jumping gently. Although he had given birth to this thing, Su Yun did not feel the slightest bit of discomfort. He quietly took out a bit of Xian Qi and approached the black ball. A strange phenomenon occurred, and the black ball suddenly squirmed a few times. Its surface was a little deformed, as though it was about to be activated. Seeing that, Su Yun immediately stopped. This was probably the Devil's Soul. The stone statue dissipated, and the Devil's Soul dispersed. This mystical trial could be considered to have officially ended. Su Yun did not know what kind of opportunity he had obtained. Perhaps it was something incredible, especially this Devil's Soul. He didn't know how powerful it was as he pondered. His gaze inadvertently fell on a statue not far away. After pondering for a moment, he walked over. Yo, young Demon Lord, I didn't expect you to actually come here. When Su Yun got closer, the statue immediately reacted and spoke. Su Yun realized that these statues were like machines that had already been shut down. Only when someone approached them would they wake up again. Junior greets Senior. Time is of the essence. Senior, please quickly summon the Shadow Guard and fight with Junior. Su Yun said. He couldn't wait to test the power of the Devil's Soul. How powerful was that stone sculpture? Presumably, its owner was an extremely powerful figure, and the things left behind were definitely not simple. The concept of the stone sculpture was different from the other devil cultivator statues. It was extremely extreme, just like its strength. TSK, TSK, TSK. Are you in such a hurry to leave the ancient tomb? The statue let out a sneer and said, Since that's the case, I'll send you off. With that said, a large amount of devil chi leaked out from the statue's body. The devil chi appeared and quickly gathered together, transforming into a pitch-black devil shadow that stood in front of Su Yun. Demon Lord, you have to be careful. My Shadow Guard is different from the other Shadow Guards. You have to use all of your methods in order to win. If you are even the slightest bit careless, it will end in a miserable defeat. Junior will remember this. Yes, the great demonic statue praised. Although you are an impatient person, you still know some etiquette. I do hope that you can obtain my inheritance and contribute to the true devil sect, but the rules are like this. You must defeat the Shadow Guard in order to obtain the benefits. If you defeat the Shadow Guard, I will give you the 300 pills that I have meticulously prepared for you. It will depend on whether you have the ability to do so. All right, let's not waste any more time. Demon Lord, prepare yourself. The Shadow Guard can attack at any time. After the great demonic statue finished speaking, it no longer spoke. The devil chi on the Shadow Guard's body stirred restlessly. Its eyes became blood red, releasing a baleful aura. Seeing that, Su Yun immediately activated the spirit core, activated the profound chi, and directly drilled into the pitch-black devil soul in his body. A strand of profound chi pierced into the devil's soul, causing the devil's soul to suddenly expand, as though its heart had suddenly jumped. Suyin opened his eyes. He felt a terrifying energy suddenly shoot out from his body. The energy was shockingly strong, as though it was going to crush his body. A large number of pitch-black veins appeared all over his body. These veins covered his hands and feet, and even extended to his face. His eyes became extremely blood-red, and his entire body was enveloped by a ball of pitch-black, demonic fire. From afar, it looked as if he was on fire. What? The great demonic statue let out a shocked expression. Roar! At this moment, the shadow guard moved. It growled, and its pitch-black body turned into a black wind, attacking Su Yun. However, before the shadow guard could even get close to Su Yun moved. He immediately leapt up, his speed so fast that it was as if he had teleported. His speed had already surpassed the understanding of humans. In an instant, he appeared behind the shadow guard. Before the shadow guard could even turn around, his head was grabbed by Su Yun, and his entire body was lifted up. Su Yun extended his hand and suddenly extended it, directly piercing through the shadow guard's body. Then, he clenched his hand into a fist, and a circle of devil power erupted from his palm, directly tearing the shadow guard apart. It only took a few breaths of time. The shadow guard didn't even have the chance to resist before it was wiped out. That ruthless power and insufferably domineering aura made it almost unable to retaliate. The great demonic statue did not make another sound. After an unknown period of time, a shocked and sluggish voice came out from within. This is the power of the devil's soul. The great demonic statue said in a daze. The power of the devil's soul? Is that it? Su Yun raised his hands and quietly looked at the devil power that was spiraling in his palms. He had never felt such a pure and unparalleled devil power before. Even Octagon Aniseed could not be compared to it. The shadow guard was killed, but the great demonic consciousness in the statue had not reacted yet. After a long while, it asked Su Yun, "Lord Demon Lord, have you already challenged the last statue?" The last statue? It should be. Su Yun was still immersed in the power of the devil's soul and was unable to recover from his shock for a while. Unexpectedly, his answer caused the great demonic consciousness in the statue to exclaim in shock, "Oh my God, you actually have that kind of strength to defeat that great demon. Incredible." Seeing that, Su Yun raised his head and looked at him curiously. "What is it? Who is this great demon? Why do all of you look so afraid of him?" "Young man, you don't know." The great demonic consciousness in the statue said with a very emotional tone, "That is not an ordinary great demon. That is a true devil sect that only appears once in 10,000 years. Zhang Kuang." "Yes, Zhang Kuang. War madman," the statue said in a low voice. "This is a complete and utter martial arts fanatic, a complete and utter madman. He has pursued martial arts all his life and has only cultivated his entire life. He has challenged countless tyrants all his life, and none of them have given up until he dies. This kind of guy could be said to be a genius, but he could also be said to be a madman. However, even though he was so stubborn, he was still very considerate of the devil sect. During the Immortal and Devil War back then, he had guarded the Forbidden Demon Road alone, the passage that led to the true devil sect's devil palace, preventing 1,000 immortal world experts from taking even half a step in. Then, he created the conditions for Changgu and Enmo to launch a sneak attack. It could be said that he contributed greatly to the devil sect's victory back then. So this person is actually so amazing." Su Yun exclaimed. "He is revered as the devil saint by my true devil sect. Since you have obtained the devil soul, it is a heaven-shaking good fortune. With this devil soul, you can easily obtain the rest of the great devil's inheritance. I hope you can cherish it. Su Yun will not disappoint all of you seniors. The devil cultivator is insufferably arrogant. He did it, but we can't. I hope you can do it." As the statue spoke, the interspatial bag on its waist peeled off on its own and fell to the ground. "Consume these pills, and then immediately sit down and meditate for 3 days to digest them. Your strength will increase by another level." After saying that, the statue's body began to decay. Hearing that, Su Yin cupped his hands towards the statue, sat down cross-legged, opened the space bag, took out the pills inside, and put them into his mouth one by one. After entering the ancient tomb, Su Yin had to consume countless pills every day. Some were strong, some were weak, and some had different effects. Some could be digested quickly, but some needed time to settle down before they could slowly decompose. But what made Su Yin curious was that when these pills entered his stomach, there would not be any conflict, and his body did not have any abnormalities, which was truly surprising. None of the pills left behind by the Great Devil were inferior. Some of them could extend one's lifespan, some could strengthen one's soul, and after swallowing this bag of pills, Su Yun's various aspects had obviously improved, but what made him even more astonished was that his body had once again become hot and dry, and a large amount of ferocious devil chi appeared. From the looks of it, it seemed like he was about to break through again. How long had it been since he advanced to Spirit Sage? Why was there a faint sign of breakthrough? Su Yun frowned, but he did not feel happy at the moment. After all, his current speed of advancement was too fast, and such a fast breakthrough was definitely not a good thing for a spirit cultivator. Forget it. I'll just take it as it comes. Su Yin took a deep breath. His gaze swept across the last few devil cultivator statues. He then stood up and walked over. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.